Chapter 627. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. Gu Jiao was dozing off, so she didn't know what the teacher was talking about. She gave Zhong Ding a look, and Zhong Ding silently opened his book. His finger pointed at the annotations he had written, without leaving a trace. Gu Jiao's mouth twitched. "Brother, your annotation is in Jiao state." Gu Jiao couldn't answer the question, and was punished by the teacher to copy the text 50 times. Gu Jiao gritted her teeth and sat down. Very good. The tide had turned. However, what was even worse was that after class, Gu Jiao was called to the teacher's room in Ming Exine Hall and received a demerit from the academy. Gu Jiao's body trembled. "Why?" Teacher Jiang of Ming Exine Hall said, "All students of the academy are not allowed to go to brothels. Otherwise, a demerit will be recorded." Gu Jiao was speechless. Tianqiong Academy had its own dining hall. Gu Jiao and Gu Shaoshan ate there at noon. The meal fee was included in the tuition fee, so they didn't have to pay extra. "Sister." Gu Shaoshan happily came to the door of Ming Exine Hall. Gu Jiao suppressed her unhappiness and looked at Gu Shaoshan. "How was your class today?" Gu Shaoshan said it was okay. Gu Jiao asked, "Did you doze off?" "Well, yes." "Wasn't dozing off a standard in class?" Gu Jiao paused. "Did the teacher call you out?" Gu Shaoshan shook her head. "No." So why was she the only one who was called out by the teacher when they both dozed off? It was all because of Mu Qingqian. She knew that he wouldn't let her go so easily. Being kidnapped by her that night was the greatest shame of his life as young Master Qingqian. He had to get back at her. Gu Jiao looked at Mu Qingqian's back and narrowed her eyes slightly. "Sister, why do you keep staring at me?" Gu Shaoshan noticed Gu Jiao's gaze. Gu Jiao retracted her gaze. "It's nothing. He's handsome. Let's go and eat." "Oh." At the mention of food, Gu Shaoshan became excited. He thought of something and leaned close to Gu Jiao to whisper, "But sister, how can you think that other men are good-looking? Brother-in-law will be jealous." "Didn't I just blurt it out? You were the one who asked the questions." Fortunately, Gu Shaoshan was more interested in food, so she didn't care about this. "We paid so much money. I wonder if the food in the dining hall is delicious." When the two of them arrived at the cafeteria, Mu Qingqian was also there. Everyone in the cafeteria was looking at him, but he was exuding an unapproachable aura, so no one dared to provoke him. Qingqian. On the second floor, a young scholar waved at Mu Qingqian. Mu Qingqian raised his eyes and looked at him, then stepped up the stairs. Lunch was steamed buns and 3 dishes of meat and vegetables. They could eat as much as they wanted. If it wasn't enough, they could get more. The first floor was crowded and noisy, while the second floor looked quieter. Gu Jiao planned to take Gu Shaoshan to the second floor, but they were stopped by Square-Faced and his men at the top of the stairs. Square-Faced was humiliated by Mu Qingqian, but he didn't dare to be angry with Mu Qingqian. He could only vent his anger on Gu Jiao. "Xiao Lulang, where are you going?" "He wants to go upstairs to find young Master Qingqian," Square-Eyed said with a smile. Square-Faced crossed his arms and pointed upstairs with his thumb. He said arrogantly, "That's not a place for people like you." Zhong Ding saw Gu Jiao being blocked at the top of the stairs from afar. He put down his bowl and walked over. He pulled Gu Jiao to turn around and whispered, "The food upstairs is not for ordinary students like us. Only young masters like Mu Qingqian were qualified to go upstairs." Gu Shaoshan muttered, "What kind of academy is this? There are so many rules." Gu Jiao just wanted some peace and quiet, not the food upstairs. She didn't care if she couldn't go upstairs. "Shaoshan, let's go," Gu Jiao said. "Hey." Gu Shaoshan quickly followed her. Square-Faced and his men were stunned again. Square-Eyed pointed at Gu Jiao's back. "No, he just left like that. He shouldn't have quarreled with them. What's wrong with people like us? Is there still a hierarchy in your academy? Can you go upstairs? If not, why are you showing off? Can't you even quarrel with them? Square-Eyed wondered. Is he looking down on us? Gu Jiao found a quiet corner to eat with Gu Xiaoshun. Gu Xiaoshun loved to eat meat, so Gu Jiao gave him all the braised pork in her bowl. Although it was said that they could eat as much as they wanted, they could only get 1 spoonful of braised pork per person. Gu Xiaoshun said, "Sister, you can eat it yourself." Gu Jiao said, "You can eat it. I can't finish it." In a wing room on the 2nd floor, a handsome young man wearing a white headband looked at Mu Qingchen opposite him and said with a smile, "What brings you here? You didn't come when I asked you to come to class. This time, you came for 2 days in a row and even came to the dining hall to eat. Am I seeing things?" Mu Qingchen didn't say anything. He glanced at the person who had given all the braised pork to his younger brother in the corner of the 1st floor, and then looked at the table of delicacies in front of him. He asked, "Is it necessary for 2 people to eat with so many dishes?" "That's a lot. There are only 8 dishes," the young man with the headband said. A moment later, the young man noticed Mu Qingchen's gaze. He smiled and looked at Gu Jiao, who was in the corner. "What's wrong? Is that guy an eyesore?" "Well, he's so ugly that he's an eyesore. Don't worry. I'll make sure he can't stay in Qianqiang Academy in 3 days." Mu Qingchen glanced at him. "Go, if you're not afraid of death." "Cousin, are you saying that I can't beat a man from the lower country?" The young man with the headband heard that the young man with the birthmark on his face was from the lower country. After he finished speaking, he seemed to realize something and looked at Mu Qingchen in disbelief. "Are you going to protect him? You think too much." Mu Qingchen pushed the bowl in front of him. "Eat your food. Don't cause trouble for your parents." The young man with the headband stopped talking when his parents were mentioned. In the afternoon, they had arithmetic class. Gu Jiao sat next to Zhongding as usual. The teacher who taught them was a teacher with the surname Gao. Gu Jiao was still dozing off with one hand supporting her head. Zhongding was sure that she didn't hear a single word, so he kindly made a note for her. Of course, he learned from his mistake and used the language of Yan instead of the language of Zhao. "What did you do last night?" Zhongding asked Gu Jiao after class. "Nothing." Gu Jiao said. "Here you are." Zhongding handed the note to Gu Jiao. "Don't do this next time. Teacher Gao is one of the strictest teachers in the academy. He sets tests every month. If you don't pass the tests, you'll be miserable. Got it?" Gu Jiao yawned and took the note. She packed up and prepared to leave. Zhongding was still working on the questions. "You got the 3rd question wrong." Gu Jiao stood up and said casually. Zhongding was stunned. He looked at Gu Jiao and then looked around. Are you talking to me? The correct number is 19. Gu Jiao didn't even look as she grabbed her bag and left. "How can it be 19? Isn't it 17? Did you look the questions? You're just talking nonsense." Zhongding didn't believe her. How could someone who dozed off during class know how to answer the questions? After dinner, Gu Jiao decided to go into the inner city again. Madame Nan said, "The inner city has a curfew. Why don't you wait for the limelight to pass?" Gu Jiao said, "I don't know when this limelight will pass. Yan's condition can't wait." In fact, Madame Nan felt that after asking so many medical centers, they didn't have the operating room that Gu Jiao needed. The operating room probably didn't exist at all. However, Gu Jiao's unyielding tenacity made Madame Nan unable to say it no matter what. Some people accept their fate, some people don't. Gu Jiao belonged to the category of people who not only didn't accept their fate, but also wanted to snatch it from the heavens. "Be careful," Madame Nan reminded her. "I will." Gu Jiao, change your clothes, and let Gu Xiaoshun send her to the inner city gate. "This child." Master Lu sighed. Madame Nan said, "It reminds me of someone." "Master Lu, who?" "Madame Nan, Duke." "You mean Dukin?" Master Lu's face darkened. "Why do you keep mentioning him recently? If you keep doing this, I'll get angry." Madame Nan looked at him angrily. "I just feel that Jiao Jiao's stubbornness is the same as Duke on when he was young. Do you still remember the marriage between Duke Un and Miss Xian Yuan? Master Lu said angrily, I'm not from Yen, and I didn't live in Yen for so many years like you. How can I remember? Madame Nan glared at him in annoyance and amusement. Miss Xian Yuan once said to Duke Un, you can't lift a shoulder or pick a hand. You can't even take one move from me. My father said, if the daughter of our Xian Yuan family wants to marry, she should marry the bravest and most skilled man in the world. Master Lu was puzzled. Then why did she still marry Dukin? Madame Nan smiled. Yes, she still married him. Everyone thought it was impossible, but Duke Un didn't give up. Jiao Jiao is the same. Master Lu pondered for a moment. But I think treating Ayan's illness is more difficult than Duke En's marriage to the Xian Yuan family's daughter. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Duke Un only stole his daughter from Xian Yuan Li, but Jiao Jiao had to steal someone from the king of hell. Madame Nan sighed. Isn't that so? Moreover, Jiao Jiao has no relatives in the Yen kingdom. It's really hard for her. After entering the inner city, the inspection was even stricter. Gu Jiao didn't choose to hang at the bottom of the carriage this time. Instead, she found a box to hide in and covered it with silk cloth. Stop. When they arrived at the gate of the inner city, the carriage was stopped by the city guards. The guards not only checked from top to bottom, they didn't even let the bottom of the carriage go. They also opened every box and confirmed that there was indeed cloth inside before letting them go. After the carriage stopped, the coachman called for people to unload the goods. Gu Jiao took the opportunity to come out of the box. She looked around and was suddenly confused. Why did she come to Duke En's residence again? Okay, you guys, move the top 2 boxes of silk cloth to Second Madam's courtyard. Yes. Send the rest of the silk cloth and jewelry to Miss Mu. She did a good job in treating Dukin. These were all bought by Second Madam as a reward. We understand. As the conversation got closer, Gu Jiao walked out from the other side. Suddenly, a black shadow swept past from the bushes not far away. It was extremely fast. If Gu Jiao wasn't coincidentally nearby, she wouldn't have noticed it at all. She frowned and instinctively felt a murderous aura. The black shadow went straight to the southeast corner. That was Duke En's courtyard. Someone wanted to kill Dukin. Mistress Nan reminded Gu Jiao not to get involved with Duke En's residence. Duke En was just a stranger and had nothing to do with Gu Jiao. Forget it, I don't care. Duke En's residence has its own guards. I don't need to do anything unnecessary. The person's movements were strange. He avoided all the patrolling guards and successfully sneaked into Duke En's courtyard. The servant girl called Lian Xiao sneaked away to play again. Duke En was the only one left in the house. The assassin in gray held a shiny dagger and came to the bed. The cold light reflected from the dagger fell on the High Duke's tightly shut eyes. It was unknown if the High Duke was alerted, but his hands began to tremble. But the assassin in gray didn't hesitate to stab Duke En's heart. Bam! A small figure flashed over and sent the assassin flying with a kick. The assassin crashed into the pillar behind him and fell heavily to the ground. Gu Jiao did not give him a chance to get up. She kicked him again, causing him to fall to the ground and vomit a mouthful of blood on the spot. The assassin looked coldly at the masked young man who suddenly appeared. He knew that today's assassination plan had failed. He didn't want to fight anymore and jumped out of the window. Gu Jiao picked up the dagger that he didn't have time to take and put it in her clothes. She came to the bed. Although the assassin didn't really succeed, the tip of the dagger still cut the back of Duke En's hand. You're injured. Let me bandage it for you. There was no one here anyway. Gu Jiao used her own voice. Duke En's fingertips moved. Gu Jiao made a sound and said, "You can hear me?" Duke En's fingertips moved again. It seemed that he could really hear. The patient had already reacted to external stimuli. This was a very good sign. Gu Jiao took out a first aid kit from her clothes. Then I'll treat your wound. Don't move. She paused and added, it won't hurt. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/8964-2_826/1080076689. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Go mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 628. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more fully. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that cannot be found on the internet are available here. The Duke was very quiet. Gu Jiao was not sure to what extent his consciousness had recovered. Was he only able to respond vaguely to external stimuli, or was he able to clearly recognize external sounds? To put it bluntly, she did not know if he could understand what she was saying. However, Gu Jiao still treated him as a patient with complete self-consciousness. She rolled up his sleeve and completely exposed the wound on his forearm. The wound is not long and not deep. There is no need for stitches. I will clean it up for you first and apply some ointment. As Gu Jiao spoke, she used a disposable iodophore stick to wipe the blood from the wound. Then, she opened the ointment, dipped it in a little, and applied it evenly on the wound. The evening light gathered, and the sun was setting outside the house. The Duke's breathing was very even. He did not move at all during the application of ointment. It's done. Gu Jiao took back the medicine bottle and the cotton swab. The cotton swab was wrapped in oiled paper. She would not throw away all the medical consumables she used. Instead, she treated them as carefully as possible. Gu Jiao planned to leave after saving the man and treating the wound. She took one last look at the man on the bed. His condition seemed to be better than the first time they met. At least his body was not as cold as before. Gu Jiao stretched out her finger and touched his forehead. There was a thin layer of sweat. Gu Jiao pulled his quilt slightly lower and opened the window for ventilation. Then she turned and left. The Duke on the bed raised his trembling hand as if he wanted to grab something. After leaving the Duke's mansion, Gu Jiao went to a few more medical centers. This time, she changed her strategy. She did not ask about the operation room. Instead, she asked about the serious heart disease in her family and if there was a cure. She also handed the prescription of Chinese medicine she wrote to the doctor in the medical center. The doctor could roughly judge the degree of the patient's heart disease through the prescription. Experienced doctors knew that medicine could not cure the disease. I have a prescription passed down from my ancestors. Maybe you can give it a try. I've been a doctor for dozens of years, and there's no disease that I can't cure. Bring the patient here for me to take a look someday. This golden core of mine has been passed down from my ancestors. It is guaranteed to cure all diseases and detoxify all poisons. 1 pill is worth 80 taels. I see that little brother is a kind and honest person. How about this? I'll sell it to you for 50 taels. When Gu Jiao came out of the 5th clinic, it was already completely dark. These people don't know about the operation. Could it be that the Yen Kingdom really doesn't have an operating theater? So, the transmigrated senior is just like me. He's only looking for an operating theater. So he drew a sketch of one? Get out of the way. Gu Jiao muttered in confusion. Suddenly, there was a commotion on the street in front of them. A man in black clothes fell from the roof and fell to the ground. Gu Jiao heard a crisp crack from afar. She didn't need to guess to know that his leg was broken. Not only that, there seemed to be other injuries on his body. Blood was gurgling out of his abdomen. Almost at the same time, a few men in gray robes rushed out of the alley and placed their swords on the heavily injured man's neck. One of the men in gray robes squatted down and checked the man's injuries. He said seriously, he's seriously injured. He must be operated on as soon as possible. Otherwise, he'll die. Operated on? Gu Jiao's eyes narrowed. The gray-robed men rushed into the alley from before and carried out a simple stretcher. They carefully moved the heavily injured man onto the stretcher. Get in the carriage, the man in gray robes who checked his injuries said. They carried the injured man onto the carriage in the alley. Gu Jiao stepped forward and followed. However, as soon as she passed through the alley, her arm was grabbed by a strong hand. Gu Jiao pulled out the dagger almost instinctively. It's me, the man said. Gu Jiao put down the dagger and turned to look at Mu Qingchen, who suddenly appeared. Why are you here? Mu Qingchen asked. I should be the one asking you that. This is the inner city. Why are you here? Gu Jiao kept the dagger and didn't answer. Mu Qingchen understood Gu Jiao's character. He didn't ask what he wanted to say, and it was useless to ask what he didn't want to say. Also, did you eat a bear's heart or a leopard's gall? You dare to follow anyone? Gu Jiao said, that man is seriously injured. I'm just curious how they will treat him. This was the truth. Mu Qingchen said coldly. Is your curiosity used on this kind of thing? Gu Jiao said, I'm happy to. Mu Qingchen, can you let go now? Gu Jiao looked at his hand that was holding her arm. Mu Qingchen put down his hand and glanced at Gu Jiao. He turned and walked forward. I'm going out of the city. Oh. Gu Jiao raised her eyebrows and followed Mu Qingchen into his carriage. Out of the city, Mu Qingchen said. The coachman was confused. Didn't they just come back? Why did they have to go out again? The coachman turned the carriage around and went out of the city slowly. Did you catch the assassin in the crown prince's residence? Gu Jiao asked. Yes, but the assassin committed suicide to avoid punishment. Mu Qingchen said. The battle of the royal family was not rare in any country. Gu Jiao was not surprised. On the other hand, it was the assassin she met in the public house that made Gu Jiao suspicious. The first time she entered the house of High Duke, the house of High Duke scribes had found traces of suspicious people. She once thought that she had been exposed. Looking at the situation today, she was afraid that there was an assassin who wanted to harm High Duke on that day. However, the guards of the house of High Duke found him in time, and he escaped before he could kill him. Today, the assassin was more careful and avoided the guards of the house of High Duke. Gu Jiao thought for a moment, then took out the dagger from her bosom and threw it to him. Mu Qingchen caught it and asked suspiciously, What is it? Someone tried to assassinate the High Duke. This is the weapon dropped by the assassin. Gu Jiao decided to tell Mu Qingchen the truth. Firstly, Gu Jiao did not feel any hostility from Mu Qingchen when she went to treat the High Duke that day. Secondly, the prescription that Mu Qingchen gave her was for the treatment of fainting. It meant that Mu Qingchen was secretly looking for a doctor for the High Duke. He was not the High Duke's enemy. After hearing Gu Jiao's words, Mu Qingchen's first reaction was, You went to the house of High Duke again? Gu Jiao said, Would you believe me if I said it was a coincidence? Mu Qingchen was speechless. What happened? He asked. Gu Jiao told Mu Qingchen about the 2 times she went to the house of High Duke by mistake. Mu Qingchen did not know what to say. No wonder he felt that she was revisiting the house of High Duke when he took her there. It was true. Gu Jiao thought that Mu Qingchen would ask her how she was able to defeat an assassin, but to her surprise, Mu Qingchen did not question her skills at all. It was as if he had seen it before. However, Gu Jiao could not remember showing her skills in front of Mu Qingchen. In the end, she could only blame it on Mu Qingchen's disinterest in her skills. Mu Qingchen looked at the dagger in his hand and said, I know. I will inform the house of High Duke and ask them to be more alert. Gu Jiao reached out her hand to Mu Qingchen. Mu Qingchen asked, What? Gu Jiao said confidently, Give it back to me. I snatched it with my own skills. I am just showing you the evidence, not giving it to you. Mu Qingchen was speechless again. There was nothing on the dagger that could prove the identity of the assassin. It was fine to give it to Xiao Lulang. Mu Qingchen returned the dagger to Gu Jiao. I promised someone to take good care of the house of High Duke. Why did they suddenly talk about this? Are you talking to me? Gu Jiao asked Mu Qingchen. They were not close enough to have a heart-to-heart talk. Mu Qingchen was stunned. He seemed to know that he had said something wrong. He explained, I just thought of that person. Gu Jiao did not want to continue the conversation. However, she looked at Mu Qingchen and asked, Is it someone important? Mu Qingchen recalled, It's a little girl. Before she left, she said to me, Mu Qingchen, you have to take good care of my father. If I find out that you didn't take good care of him, I will beat you up. Is she the daughter of High Duken? Gu Jiao asked, Oh, is she that arrogant? Mu Qingchen said, She's younger than me, but I can't beat her. Even a wolf can't beat her. Gu Jiao thought to herself, Even a wolf can't beat me. Then again, this scene was a bit melodramatic. Gu Jiao was not good at dealing with this kind of situation. She felt that if she continued to talk like this, her little toes would dig out 3 rooms and 2 living rooms in the carriage. Fortunately, Mu Qingchen changed the topic. Those people just now are from the State Preceptor Hall. Which ones? Gu Jiao asked. The ones you want to follow. Mu Qingchen said. Gu Jiao was instantly energized. What is the State Preceptor Hall? Mu Qingchen said, The State Preceptor Hall used to be the Imperial Astronomer. After it was taken over by the State Preceptor, a new State Preceptor Hall was built. The State Preceptor Hall is the most powerful force in Shang. The State Preceptor is very resourceful and highly regarded by the king. He can carry a sword when he enters the palace. There is no need to inform the king. It was said that the Yen Kingdom was just a small kingdom decades ago. One day, a powerful State Preceptor suddenly came and presented the king with the 6 ancient books. Relying on the secrets in the books, the Yen Kingdom sprung up like bamboo shoots after a spring rain. Gu Jiao did not know whether these rumors were exaggerated or not. But since Mu Qingchen praised the State Preceptor Hall for his resourcefulness, could he be the time traveler who built the operating room? Digression, the monthly ticket sale has begun. Do you still have any monthly tickets? The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. You can find all the novels that you can't find on the internet here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/107990808. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Pavilion Mobile Reading Website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 629. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are available here. Once she found him, Guyen could have the operation. Gu Jiao said, Well, Mu Qingchen interrupted her coldly. Don't even think about it. I won't take you to the State Preceptor Hall. Gu Jiao paused. You can't get in at all, right? Mu Qingchen was speechless. Gu Jiao basically understood. The hope of Gu Yan's operation was in the State Preceptor Hall. However, the State Preceptor Hall was an important place in Chengdu. Even a young master like Mu Qingchen couldn't enter at will. It was good that she knew it was in the State Preceptor Hall. She would find a way to get there. Mu Qingchen sent Gu Jiao to the gate of Chenqiong Academy, as usual. Then Mu Qingchen left. Gu Jiao walked back to her residence. Madame Nan and Master Lu were waiting for her in the central room. When they saw her coming back, they both breathed a sigh of relief. They didn't worry about her today. Jiao Jiao, you haven't eaten yet, right? Madame Nan asked. Not yet, Gu Jiao said. I'll get it for you. Madame Nan went to the kitchen and brought the food in the pot. It's been heated for a while. It might not be as good as before. Gu Jiao said, "It's okay. Madame Nan's cooking is delicious." The truth was that Madame Nan's cooking skills were really not very good. However, everyone who had been poisoned by Xiao Liulong's dark cuisine wouldn't think that Madame Nan's cooking was bad. It was summer in Chengdu in May, but it wasn't hot in the morning and evening. Madame Nan was sweating because she was waiting for Gu Jiao anxiously. Now that Gu Jiao was back, her heart was calm, and she didn't even want the fan in her hand. She threw the fan to Master Lu and asked Gu Jiao, "How was it? Did you find anything?" "Yes." Gu Jiao nodded. "The Grand Preceptor's Hall might have what I want." "Imperial Preceptor Hall?" Madame Nan gasped. Mistress Nan's reaction basically showed the difficulty of this mission. Gu Jiao asked, "Does Mistress Nan know any way to enter the Imperial Preceptor Hall?" In view of Gu Jiao's past behavior, Madame Nan hurriedly reminded her, "Sneaking indefinitely won't work. I won't allow you to do so. The Imperial Preceptor's Hall is full of experts. Do you know how the men of sacrifice of the Yen Kingdom came to be?" Gu Jiao asked, "Is it related to the Imperial Master Hall?" Marshal Ant Nan nodded and said, "That's right, it was the Imperial Tutor who taught him." Didn't the late Emperor of Zhao Country also buy a group of men of sacrifice from Yen Country? Those aren't the best suicide warriors. The best ones are in the Imperial Preceptor Hall. If Gu Jiao had recovered her full strength, she might be able to give it a try. But now it was better to be smart. Gu Jiao asked, "Then how can I get in?" "This." Madame Nan stood up and paced around the room. "Either you pretend to be a disciple of the Imperial Preceptor Hall and sneak in, or let the people of the Imperial Preceptor Hall willingly take you in. But neither of these two methods is feasible." The first method was easy to be discovered. The second method was almost impossible. Madame Nan sighed. "You go and rest first. I'll think about it tonight. I'll tell you when I think of something." Gu Jiao said, "I'll have to trouble you." Madame Nan said warmly, "Don't treat me like an outsider. It's also my wish to help Yen recover quickly." In the dead of night, after the children had all gone to bed, Madame Nan changed into a night suit, opened the door, and walked out. In the house of Duke Sheng, the glazed candles were shining in the corridor. After Mu Qingqian returned to the inner city, he immediately went to the house of Duke and found Second Master Jing. He told him that when he passed by the house of Duke, he accidentally found a few suspicious people wandering outside. He hoped that Second Master Jing could strengthen the security of the house of Duke, especially Duke An's courtyard. Second Master Jing of the house of Duke didn't doubt Mu Qingqian's words. Although Mu Qingqian's family was against the house of Duke, and Mu Qingqian himself had been taken care of by Duke and when he was young. He didn't have any bad intentions toward Duke, and don't worry, I'll personally guard Big Brother's courtyard tonight. Although Second Master Jing and Duke didn't have the same mother, they were very close since childhood. In his heart, Duke was like a father. No matter what, he wouldn't let anyone harm his big brother. After Mu Qingqian left, Second Master Jing selected the most powerful men of sacrifice in the house of Duke and to surround Big Brother's courtyard. He himself took a blanket and lay on the ground in front of Big Brother's bed. In his half-awake state, he faintly heard a vague voice from Big Brother's bed. After he woke up, he suddenly opened his eyes and said, "Big Brother, are you calling me?" He jumped up like a carp and came to the front of the bed. He lifted the curtain and used the weak candlelight to look at Big Brother's thin face. Duke's eyes were still closed and he was unconscious. He didn't call out to him. However, Big Brother was indeed mumbling in his sleep. This was great progress. Big Brother had been unconscious for so long, but he had never talked in his sleep. Second Master Jing bent down to listen to what Big Brother was saying. In the end, Big Brother only repeated one name in his dream, Yining. Yining, his niece, who died young, Jing Yining. At dawn, Gu Jiao woke up from her dream. She sat at the head of the bed in a daze for a while. "It's so strange. I think I had a dream last night, but I can't remember what I dreamed of." She rarely had dreams. In principle, two people would take turns to use a horse. However, many students of Mingxin Hall had brought their own good horses from home, so the stable had more than enough horses. I don't know much about horses. Can you help me pick one? Zhong Ding said to Gu Jiao embarrassedly. I'll pick that one. Gu Jiao pointed to a tall horse at the innermost side of the stable. It's gentle. It won't throw you off. Zhong Ding still didn't dare to enter the stable. Gu Jiao went in and took the horse out. Here. Zhong Ding still had a lingering fear. It's really gentle? Gu Jiao threw the reins to him. It's the most gentle one here. Zhong Ding subconsciously hugged it with both hands. How do you know? Gu Jiao frowned irritably. Give it to me if you don't believe me. Zhong Ding hurriedly hugged the reins and turned around. I believe. Actually, Zhong Ding had already felt the gentleness of the horse from the moment he got close to it. His riding skills weren't good, and he had fallen off a horse before. Therefore, he didn't dare to ride a horse with a strong temper. At this time, the rest of the students were almost done choosing. Gu Jiao didn't like to squeeze with others. She waited for everyone to finish choosing and then went to take another horse out. Suddenly, someone called her from behind. Xiao Lulang. Digression. Thank you for your monthly votes. There are 3 chapters today. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896/1079894000. HTML Genius remembered this site's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Go mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 630. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that you can't find online. Gu Jiao turned around and looked indifferently at the 6 scumbags of Bright Heart Hall. What's the matter? The square-faced man walked over to her with a smile and said kindly, You just came to the academy, so you don't know. The horses in this stable are all leftovers. The horses in the stable next door are the best. Do you want to try them? No, Gu Jiao said. The square-faced man was startled, then smiled sarcastically. You're not afraid, are you? Gu Jiao ignored him. No, why didn't this person play by the rules? However, it was unknown if the heavens were helping them, but the teacher from Gu Xiaoshuan's class changed classes at the last minute and also came to the martial teacher's riding and shooting class. As a result, there were not enough horses in the stable. When the last horse was taken away, Gu Jiao and the other students of Bright Moon Hall could only go to the stable next door to choose a horse. The square-faced man winked at his companions. The few of them understood and secretly pulled open a guardrail, using a hook to hook the reins out. When there were only 2 horses left in the fence, the square-faced man grabbed one of the reins. I want this horse. He took the brown horse away. Gu Jiao looked at the last docile white horse and didn't say anything. She took the reins and walked out. But after taking a few steps, she felt that something was wrong. There was something wrong with the sound of the horse's hooves. It wasn't the white horse that came out, but a black horse that had come out from the shadows. There should have been a fence around the black horse, but it had been pulled open at some point. The white horse was trembling with fear. The black horse had a wild, murderous aura, and it slowly walked towards Gu Jiao like the king of all horses. Haha! Guess what happened to him now? Was he trampled to death by that horse? The square-faced man was convulsing with laughter in the meadow. It was not a horse that could be used for lessons, but a wild horse that had not been tamed yet. Wu Fuzi specially locked it up and didn't let it eat or drink in order to dampen its spirit. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to tame it. But that horse king is so powerful, won't it kill someone? One of his companions asked. The last time Master Wu tried to tame it, did he get hurt by it? Another companion said. Even Wu Fuzi was injured. That weak Xiao Lulang will die miserably, right? If he dies, won't he blame us? The third companion said. The square-faced man felt guilty for a moment, but he quickly waved his hand. How can you blame us? He was the one who pulled the rope. He was also the one who opened the fence. All of you, remember this well. Besides, so what if someone died? Who asked him to be so arrogant? A lowly person from a lower country was cooking for him, and he really thought of himself as a dish. Young Master Qingshan took the initiative to sit with him, but he turned around and left. He didn't even let young Master Qingshan sit with him. Does he need to be taught a lesson? The triangular-eyed man said, That's right. He should be taught a lesson. He should know that a lower country person should know his place. Don't be so shameless. What are you talking about? Who wants to kill someone? Mu Qingshan's voice suddenly sounded behind them. They were so scared that they almost threw the reins in their hands away. The 6 of them turned around and looked at Mu Qingshan, who was riding on the Fergana horse. Their blood froze in their veins. Speak, Mu Qingshan shouted. Their legs went weak. One of the students named Sun Peng pointed at the square-faced man and said, It was all Li Hongyi's idea. He was the one who wanted Xiao Lulang to challenge the Horse King. Mu Qingshan's eyes were filled with murderous intent. The square-faced man said in a trembling voice, I saw how disrespectful he was to young Master Qingshan, so I wanted to teach him a lesson. Mu Qingshan glared at them coldly. Then he pulled the reins tightly and changed the direction of the horse, rushing toward the stable. When he was about to reach the stable, he saw Gu Jiao riding the untamable horse king out. He urged his horse to rush toward Gu Jiao, intending to grab Gu Jiao's reins. Unexpectedly, a delicate voice called out to him, Fourth brother. It was Su Shui. Su Shui was wearing a veil and holding up her pink dress as she ran toward Mu Qingshan. She didn't know anything about danger. Gu Jiao's horse was about to rush out of the narrow path of the stable, and he couldn't save Su Shui in time. There was a blind spot in the narrow path. Gu Jiao didn't see Su Shui, but she saw Su Shui's shadow on the grass. She tried to tighten the reins, but the reins broke with a snap. The horse continued to run forward ferociously. The Horse King raised its front hooves. Su Shui was about to be trampled into a pile of mud. In the nick of time, Gu Jiao grabbed the Horse King's head and threw it onto the grass. One had to know that this was the Horse King. Gu Jiao fell down as well. She rolled a few times to stabilize herself. She knelt on one knee and supported herself with her right hand. She coldly looked at the Horse King that was still untamed. The Horse King stood up and charged toward Gu Jiao and Su Shui. Gu Jiao grabbed the Horse King's mane and flipped it over, throwing it onto the grass again. Su Shui fell down again. The Horse King stood up, and so did Su Shui. She raised her hand to wipe away the blood at the corner of her mouth and smirked. I'm definitely going to have you. Su Shui blushed. This lecher, what nonsense is he talking about? Who is mine? Gu Jiao couldn't remember how many times she fell down while hugging the Horse King. The Horse King's eyes gradually retreated, but it wasn't that easy to make it submit. It seemed to be waiting for Gu Jiao to use up all the strength in her body. After all, everyone who had tried to tame it had eventually exhausted their strength before it. Otherwise, Wu Fuzi would not have wanted to starve it for a few days first. It had only been hungry for half a day, so it was full of energy. But the strange thing was that this youth was clearly exhausted, but he could still explode with astonishing fighting strength. The youth's bones seemed to have a will that would never admit defeat. More and more people came to watch. Wu Fuzi looked at the wolf-like youth in disbelief. His heart was deeply shocked. The last time he was shocked like this was more than 10 years ago. The Xinyuan family's children showed him what a true wolf's nature was. In the end, the young wolf defeated the Wild Horse King. Panting, the Wild Horse King obediently submitted to Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao was also on the verge of death, But she knew that this was only a test from a horse king. If she couldn't get on the horse king, she wouldn't have a second chance to tame it. She tightened her grip on the horse king's mane. Su Shui looked at her trembling body, and her heart tightened. She turned to Mu Qingchen. Fourth brother, Mu Qingchen signaled for her to calm down. Everyone held their breath. They wanted to know if Gu Jiao, who was covered in wounds, could still ride the horse king. Gu Jiao licked the blood from the corner of her mouth and smiled wickedly. With a nimble flip, she got on the horse king. The horse king let out a long neigh, showing its complete submission. The youth had tamed the horse king, and the entire field was in an uproar. Amidst the jubilant cheers, everyone could feel the blood in their bodies surging. Even Wu Fuzi was so excited that his eyes were shining. The Xinyuan family's men were all gone. But Wu Fuzi wanted to say that he saw a new wolf. A young wolf that was about to become the Wolf King. The price to pay for taming the Horse King was terrible. Gu Jiao couldn't go to class anymore. Wu Fuzi had Gu Jiao return to her dormitory first. "Can someone send him off?" "I'll send him off," Mu Qingchen said. Mu Qingchen brought the limping Gu Jiao back to the southern courtyard. Su Shui followed behind them. "What are you doing here?" Mu Qingchen asked at the entrance of the southern courtyard. "This is the men's dormitory. There's no one here anyway," Su Shui said. "Are we in the wrong place?" Gu Jiao looked around the courtyard and asked. Su Shui said, "No, this is the southern courtyard." Gu Jiao was doubtful. "Is this for the people of China? Why was it so extravagant? Was the plaque on the pavilion made of real gold?" Su Shui said, "Why would it be for the people of China? The southern courtyard is only for the people of China." Gu Jiao asked curiously, "Then why am I here?" "Oh, I forgot you're from China," Su Shui said. Su Shui was an arrogant and rude person, but she wasn't someone who didn't know what was good for her. In her bones, she did look down on the people below her. But Xiao Liulong's performance today was beyond her expectations. Not only did he save her, but he also tamed the horse king that even the martial scholar couldn't tame. This young man used his strength to win her respect. She decided to allow him to be on equal footing with her from now on. She said, "Actually, there's a person from China living in my dormitory. She's also a new student. She's quite pretty, but compared to me, she's just a little bit worse." All right, she was much prettier than her. She had never seen such a beautiful person in her entire life. On the first day, she had already surpassed the beauty of the academy's first courtyard, Gu Chengcheng. On the third day, she entered the beauty rankings of the 6 nations. The more Su Shui thought about it, the more jealous she became. She began to nitpick. "But she's a little tall. It's hard for a woman to find a husband if she's too tall. Also, she's a little mute and has a little black child who's a burden." In a certain dormitory of the Tsanglan Women's Academy, an adult and a child sneezed at the same time. Gu Jiao didn't like to chat, but Su Shui and Zhongding were easy to talk to. Su Shui continued to talk to Gu Jiao. "I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Su Shui. Since you saved me today, I won't hold it against you for what happened at the relay station last time," Mu Qingchen said indifferently. "Last time, you were the one who hit him first, but you fell because your skills weren't as good as his, right? Who's the one holding it against whom?" Su Shui choked. Gu Jiao looked at Mu Qingchen and then at Su Shui. "You call him fourth brother. What kind of siblings are you?" Su Shui said, "Biological siblings." Gu Jiao was confused. "Then why is your surname Su and his surname Mu?" "I took my mother's surname," Mu Qingchen said lightly. Gu Jiao said, "Oh." Gu Jiao only remembered that she didn't bring her key when she arrived at the door of her dormitory. "I have it." Mu Qingchen took out a key from his brocade pouch and opened the door. Gu Jiao looked at him with a frown. "Why do you have the key to my dormitory?" Mu Qingchen said indifferently. "Because this is also my dormitory." Gu Jiao hadn't stayed here before, and it seemed like Mu Qingchen hadn't stayed here before either. She originally thought that it was empty inside, But she didn't expect that the bedding and mattresses were all soft and fine, and all of them were of the highest quality. Gu Jiao raised her eyebrows. You've already made 2 beds. Young Master Qingchen, you take good care of your roommate. Now that things had developed to this point, it would not make sense if Gu Jiao still could not guess. Mu Qingchen must have seen how she saved Su Shui with her silver needles that night, so he opened a series of back doors for her. Fortunately, he was just repaying her kindness. She almost thought that he was interested in her. Gu Jiao took out a bottle of medicine from her pouch. Su Shui said, "Let me apply the medicine for you." "He's a man." Mu Qingchen frowned. Su Shui scratched her hair and lowered her eyes. "Oh." Mu Qingchen said to Su Shui, "You go out first. I'll apply the medicine for him." Gu Jiao said, "Both of you go out. I'll apply the medicine myself." What a joke. If I can't treat Su Shui, do you think I can treat you? Mu Qingchen wasn't used to having outsiders around, so he didn't suspect anything. He thought for a moment and said, "Or I'll call your brother over." Gu Jiao said seriously, "No. Let him go to class. I'll do it myself. It's not that serious." Su Shui was shy and had already left. Mu Qingchen didn't want to force Gu Jiao, so he got up and left as well. But the moment he turned around, he suddenly saw a pool of blood on Gu Jiao's bed. "You said it's not serious. You're bleeding." Gu Jiao had a lot of scratches on her body, and there were traces of blood. But the extent of the bleeding, Gu Jiao followed his gaze and looked over. It wasn't an injury. It was her menstrual cycle. Gu Jiao cleared her throat and said seriously, "Well, it's not an injury." Mu Qingchen looked at her deeply, as if he was trying to figure out if she was telling the truth. After a while, he seemed to have understood something. His eyes moved. "You," Gu Jiao face-bombed. "Damn, I've lost my virginity just like that." Mu Qingchen's face flashed with embarrassment. "I'll get you some medicine. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone." Mu Qingchen probably ran as fast as a dead horse because he came back in a short while. He coughed and handed the medicine bottle to Gu Jiao awkwardly. You can do it yourself." Menstrual pain medicine? She didn't expect this annoying Mu Qingchen to be such a considerate man. "Thank you." Before she could finish her words, Gu Jiao saw 3 eye-catching words on the bottle. Hemorrhoid ointment. Gu Jiao. Digression, it's midnight. Don't waste your monthly votes. If you haven't voted, hurry up and vote. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that you can't find online. https://www.zhpqg.com/89642_896428226/1079888558. HTML Genius. Memorize the website's address in 1 second. www.zhpqg.com Bikaj mobile reading website. zhpqg.com. Chapter 631. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated more quickly. Millions of novels will be read for free. You can find all the novels that you can't find on the internet here. Gu Jiao was in a bad mood. She really wanted to open Mu Qingchen's brain to see what was going on inside. Why did he suspect that she had this disease? Mu Qingchen, what's wrong? Is there something wrong with the medicine? Gu Jiao took a deep breath. Yes, thank you. Mu Qingchen was baffled. Thank you. Why are you gritting your teeth in anger? It was not him who made her hemorrhoids attack. Mu Qingchen knew that it was very embarrassing to be found out, so he turned his back to her. By the way, how did you get this disease at such a young age? Gu Jiao's face darkened. Yes, how did I get this disease at such a young age? Of course I have to ask you. Gu Jiao didn't plan to live in the dormitory, so there were no spare clothes in the dormitory. It was inconvenient for her to go out in this outfit. Mu Qingchen sympathized with his roommate's experience, so he generously asked someone to fetch his cloak from the carriage and handed it to Gu Jiao. In the afternoon, Mr. Jiang and Mr. Gao had classes. Mr. Wu took the initiative to ask for a leave for Gu Jiao. In fact, Gu Jiao was more resilient than Mr. Wu thought. After an hour of rest, she was fine again. However, there was a free leave, so it would be a waste not to take it. Gu Jiao didn't have lunch in the canteen. She went straight back to the house she rented. Although she had left, the discussion about her had just begun. In the canteen. "Hey, have you heard? A new student came to Mingxin Hall this morning and tamed Mr. Wu's Horse King." "What Horse King?" "It's the wild horse that Wu Fuzi won from a martial arts competition. The dark horse that broke one of Mr. Wu's front teeth. That should be it. Mr. Wu taught it for a long time, but he couldn't do anything about it." "Who did you say tamed it?" "A new student." "What is his name?" "Xiao Lulang?" "I've never heard of it. Are there any young masters with the surname Xiao in Xingdu?" "He's not from Xingdu. He's from another country." "Jin Nation?" "No. State of Liang. It's the state of Zhao." "Zhao State. A citizen of a lower country? How could this be? Was there something wrong with the horse? Was he injured by Wu Fuzi?" Those who had not seen it with their own eyes would not be able to imagine the scene at that time. Only the students of Ming Xian Hall and Ming Yu Hall had witnessed Gu Jiao training the horse. They were very sure that not only had the horse not been injured by Wu Fuzi, but it had also been beaten up by Wu Fuzi, and had even released some of its anger for revenge. No one present thought that Gu Jiao had won by luck. Gu Jiao didn't beat it up. She just knocked it down again and again until it lost its temper. This sounded easy, but it was no less difficult than these weak scholars becoming the martial scholar. The boy named Xiao Lulang was as ruthless as he could be. He was ruthless to the horse, and even more ruthless to himself. Who would dare to provoke him in the future? In short, the people of Ming Xian Hall and Ming Yu Hall did not dare to. The matter did not end hastily at this point. Mu Qingchen handed Li Hongyi and the others over to Wu Fuzi. The 6 of them were first intimidated by Mu Qingchen, and then they were severely shocked by the whole process of Gu Jiao training the horse. How could they dare to lie? They obediently told Wu Fuzi that they had tricked Gu Jiao into becoming the Horse King. Stupid. Wu Fuzi was furious. Thanks to Xiao Liulang's ability, if it were anyone else in the academy, they would have died under the horse's hooves. Wu Fuzi thought of the daughter of the Su family who had almost died, and his back was covered with a layer of cold sweat. This matter could not be tolerated, and Wu Fuzi reported it to the dean. After the dean understood the situation, he suspended Li Hongyi, the instigator of the incident, and severely warned the other 5 people. All of them were recorded with a major demerit, criticized by the whole academy, and punished to clean the latrines. And the letter of repentance, hand it all in tomorrow morning. The dean said sternly. The 6 people left the dean's office gloomily. Gu Jiao knew nothing about the follow-up of this matter. She was leisurely lying on the rattan chair in the courtyard and enjoying the cool air with Gu Yan. The climate in Chengdu was humid than in the Zhao country, and the air was sticky when it was hot. Gu Jiao fanned Gu Yan. "How is it? Is it cool?" "It's cool," Gu Yan said weakly. Gu Jiao touched his neck. There was no sweat, so she put down the palm leaf fan. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. "Who is it?" Master Lu came out of the backyard with a wood-chopping axe. "I'll open the door," Gu Jiao said. The door was unlatched, and the other party probably knocked on the door out of courtesy. Gu Jiao walked over and opened the wooden door. A black horse head came in. Then Gu Jiao saw Wu Fuzi standing beside the horse with a bloody nose and a swollen face. His right arm was hanging on his neck with gauze. Gu Jiao asked strangely, What's going on?" Wu Fuzi smiled embarrassedly. "You tamed this horse. I discussed with the academy and decided to give it to you as a reward." The truth was, after Gu Jiao left, Wu Fuzi thought that the horse had been tamed, so he ran over to ride it. As a result, he was miserably thrown by it. The dean was also there at that time, and he was almost kicked away by the horse's hooves. If Wu Fuzi hadn't used himself as a shield, the dean would have broken an arm. The dean said that he never wanted to see this horse again. Wu Fuzi. Wu Fuzi didn't dare to see it again. Gu Jiao paused and said, "But my family is poor. I'm afraid we can't afford to raise this horse." They didn't have enough money with them, so they had to be frugal with everything. "I'll pay for the horse," Wu Fuzi said. "Please take this horse." After it was defeated, it lost all its face. It was so angry that it went back to the stable and bullied the other horses. The academy couldn't tolerate it anymore. In the end, Gu Jiao got a horse from Wu Fuzi for free, plus 10 taels of silver for feed every month. When it was close to evening, Madame Nan came back. Madame Nan was wearing night clothes. Master Lu said in the morning that Madame Nan went out to do something, but looking at her clothes, it wasn't a small matter. Madame Nan went into the room and drank a few cups of water. Then she said to Gu Jiao while panting, "Jiao Jiao, I used some old connections to contact a kitchen manager in the State Preceptor Hall. He will come to the house later to discuss with you about going to the State Preceptor Hall." So this was the reason. Gu Jiao looked at Madame Nan and said, "Madame Nan, go change your clothes first. I'll go get some water for you." Madame Nan had been running for a day and a night. She was soaked and didn't feel well. Gu Jiao went to the kitchen to get some water for Madame Nan. When Madame Nan finished bathing and changing her clothes, the manager of the State Preceptor Hall also came to visit. He was a fat middle-aged man with a decent appearance. He wore a gray robe similar to the disciples of the State Preceptor Hall that Gu Jiao saw that day. There were some differences in the embroidery on the belt and the cuffs. "This is Steward Liao," Madame Nan introduced. Gu Jiao greeted Steward Liao. Madame Nan smiled and said to Steward Liao, "This is my adopted son, Little Six." In order to make things easier, Madame Nan tried to explain the relationship between Gu Jiao and herself. Steward Liao looked at Gu Jiao lightly and said, "He's the one who wants to enter the State Preceptor Hall? What is he going to do in the State Preceptor Hall? Don't implicate me because he's doing something dirty." "Why would I?" Madame Nan said pleasantly. "He's just curious and wants to go in to broaden his knowledge." "Don't worry, Steward Liao. Just because we came from the same sect, you should trust me." So he was from the same sect as Madame Nan. It was true that they were from the same sect. But in reality, Steward Liao was only an outer sect disciple. He couldn't curry favor with Madame Nan. But as the saying goes, every dog has its day. Now, both of them had left the sect. He had entered the State Preceptor Hall and was doing well. But this former direct disciple of the inner sect still had to beg under his name. Because of this momentary sense of superiority, Steward Liao decided that he could help her this once. Steward Liao said in an arrogant tone, "I'll say the ugly words first. I'll only bring you in for a walk. You can't steal inside or do anything that's detrimental to the State Preceptor Hall." Madame Nan smiled and said, "Look at what you're saying. With an expert like Steward Liao watching, what can my adopted son do?" Who didn't like flattery? Steward Liao laughed unscrupulously. Madame Nan took out 2 gold bars from the house and handed them to him. Steward Liao raised his eyebrows and put the gold bars into his sleeves without any hesitation. If he only took the gold bars, it would be fine. But he inadvertently glanced and saw the horse King eating grass in the backyard. He pointed with his hand and said, "That horse, I want it." Madame Nan didn't go to the backyard just now. But now that she looked carefully, she realized that there was an extra black horse in the house. It bullied the horses in the stable and people in the field. But it was very obedient here. Gu Yan could even brush its hair. Gu Jiao didn't tie it up. Perhaps because it sensed that someone wanted it, it stopped eating the grass and walked through the central room with wild and elegant steps toward Steward Liao. Steward Liao looked at the pair of bright eyes and was delighted. This horse has intelligence. The horse King did have intelligence. And it was extremely intelligent. It walked in front of Steward Liao and slowly turned around. Steward Liao admired its strong body greedily. This was a first-class horse king. That's it, before he could finish speaking. The horse king kicked Steward Liao away mercilessly with its hoof. Gu Jiao, Madam Nan. Gu Jiao looked at Steward Liao, who fell outside the door with his tongue out and eyes rolled back. She asked confusedly, Madam Nan, do you think I can still go to the State Preceptor Palace? Madam Nan was even more confused than her. You can go in your dreams. The horse king didn't know that it had caused a disaster and was still jumping around in the yard. It seemed to be quite proud of itself. Gu Jiao turned around and looked at it with a dark face. Can't you pretend to leave with him and then sneak back? It had to be a scheming horse. Gu Jiao crossed her arms and glared at it fiercely. As she glared, she started to feel that something was wrong. The horse king's eyes started to show a hint of grievance. Then it looked like it was about to cry. Gu Jiao's delicate body shook, and her face was full of rejection. You can't do this. You're a horse king, not a little princess. Horse king, sob sob sob. Gu Jiao, Steward Liao, was embarrassed after being kicked by the horse king. His whole body was in pain. No matter how Madam Nan tried to talk to him, he refused to help her. Madam Nan was helpless and could only watch as Steward Liao left. Gold bar. Gu Jiao called out to him. What? Steward Liao frowned and looked at this kid. Gu Jiao said, You didn't bring it to the State Preceptor Palace. Return the gold bar. Steward Liao, very well, you can forget about entering the State Preceptor Palace in this lifetime. Steward Liao gritted his teeth and sat on the horse carriage angrily. He was furious when he thought about what happened today. The coachman asked, Steward Liao, are we going back to the State Preceptor Palace? Steward Liao said angrily, If we're not going back to the State Preceptor Palace, where do you think we're going? The coachman hurriedly said, I've said too much. The coachman rushed the horse carriage all the way back to the State Preceptor Palace. Are you trying to drive me to my death? The coachman slowed down. Do you want to walk until tomorrow if you're so slow? The coachman sped up again. Do you know how to drive a horse carriage? Do you know how to drive? The horse carriage finally arrived at the State Preceptor Palace amid Steward Liao's scolding and fussing. With Steward Liao's status, he wasn't qualified to walk through the main entrance. He couldn't even sit in a horse carriage and walk through the main entrance. When he reached the main entrance, a plain but majestic horse carriage drove towards the State Preceptor Palace's main entrance. Steward Liao's arrogance and annoyance disappeared as he politely bowed to the horse carriage. The horse carriage didn't stop and entered the State Preceptor Palace without any obstructions. The coachman was new and didn't know what was going on. Even the inner disciples of the State Preceptor Palace had to get off the horse carriage and walk. Who had the guts to enter directly from the main entrance in a horse carriage? Steward Liao, who is that? The coachman asked. Steward Liao looked at the horse carriage that was gradually driving away and said enviously, Who else could it be? The chess master of the 6 nations, old Mr. Meng. The State Preceptor likes to learn from others. As long as old Mr. Meng is in Chengdu, he will be invited to the palace to play chess every month. Remember to be respectful when you see old Mr. Meng in the future. He is an important guest of the State Preceptor Palace. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_8964286/107970429. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in a second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 632. Please scan the QR code below to download the app for more exciting content. The novel will be updated more quickly. Millions of novels can be read for free. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found online. Since Steward Liao's method didn't work, Gu Jiao decided to think of another way. The first person she thought of was Mu Qingchen. From what Mu Qingchen said to her that day, she could guess that Mu Qingchen himself couldn't enter the State Master Hall, but it didn't mean that he didn't know how to enter the hall. Gu Jiao lay on the bed with one hand behind her head. She looked at the top of the tent and said, "Okay, I'll choose you." The next day, Gu Jiao got up early. She went to see Gu Yan first, and then went to Tianqiong Academy with Gu Shaoshun. Gu Jiao became famous in the grassland yesterday. As soon as she entered the academy, today, she felt the attention from all directions. The people of Bright Moon Hall and Bright Heart Hall had seen her. As for the students of the other 10 halls, although they hadn't seen her with their own eyes, the birthmark on her face was too easy to recognize. There's a red birthmark on the left side of her face. This news spread throughout the academy within a day. Therefore, all the teachers and students in the academy knew her. Among this group of people, some were afraid, some were simply curious, and of course, some didn't believe that she was so capable. They just thought that she was lucky and scoffed at her. Gu Jiao didn't care about any of them. She went to their respective classrooms with Gu Shaoshun. The seats in the classrooms were basically fixed, but if they changed privately, the teacher wouldn't say anything. Mu Qingchen hadn't come yet. Gu Jiao didn't know where he would sit. Zhong Ding waved at her from his original seat and patted the stool next to him, indicating that he had left a seat for her. Gu Jiao didn't sit with Zhong Ding. Instead, she chose a seat in the last row and sat down. The seat next to her was empty. Mu Qingchen should sit there. Gu Jiao put away her bag, took out her writing brush, ink, paper, and inkstone, and pointed at her classmate in the front row. His classmate turned his head and looked at Gu Jiao nervously. Brother Xiao, what's the matter?" Gu Jiao said, "Let me copy your homework." His classmates. Her classmate handed her homework to Gu Jiao. Yesterday afternoon, Gu Jiao asked for leave. She didn't know what Teacher Gao and Teacher Jiang taught, but she still did her homework. She was a good student who abided by the rules. Gu Jiao finished copying the homework and returned it to her classmate in the front row. "Thanks." No need to thank me," his classmate stammered. Gu Jiao glanced at her. "Why are you so nervous? I'm not going to eat you." "Oh, I'm not nervous." "Don't be nervous." Her classmate put away the homework that Gu Jiao had returned. She dipped the brush in ink and put it directly into the homework. Gu Jiao. Originally, there were more people in the class who ignored and looked down on her, but after seeing her tame the Horse King, everyone began to fear her. Zhong Ding was fine. Perhaps it was because he and Gu Jiao knew each other early and lived in the same dormitory as Gu Jiao's wife's brother. Although Gu Shaoshun didn't live in the same dormitory, they were closer than ordinary classmates. Zhong Ding walked over and leaned on Gu Jiao's desk. He whispered to Gu Jiao, "Xiao Lulang, how did you calculate that the answer to yesterday's question was 19? He didn't believe it at first, but when Teacher Gao checked the answer in class, he knew that Xiao Lulang was right. No, Xiao Lulang didn't calculate it. Zhong Ding whispered, Did you peek at Teacher Gao's answer?" Gu Jiao glanced at him indifferently. "Yes, I saw the answer." Zhong Ding was relieved. "I knew it. It was such a difficult question, and no one in the class could answer it correctly. How did you guess it?" "Well, if there's nothing else, I'll go sit down." "Wait." Gu Jiao stopped him. "What's wrong?" Zhong Ding turned around and asked, "Why isn't Mu Qingchen here yet?" "Don't you know?" "Know what?" "He may not come today. Old Master Meng is playing chess with the dean in the Immortal Wan Pavilion." Young Master Qingchen went to watch. "Which old Master Meng?" "The chess sage of the 6 kingdoms. Don't tell me you haven't heard of him. He's from the Zhao kingdom. Because he's good at chess, the king of the Yan kingdom made an exception and invited him to live in Chengdu." "Oh, this old Master Meng." Gu Jiao had heard of him before. Old Master Meng rarely goes out of the inner city. Even if he does, almost no one is qualified to play chess with him. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. No wonder young Master Qingshan went to watch and learn. I want to go too, but I don't dare to skip class. I'll get a demerit. If she wanted a demerit, then forget it. She planned to go to the Immortal Wand Pavilion to find Mu Qingshan. Everyone, Master Jiang went to the Immortal Wand Pavilion. It's Master Wu's class in the morning again. Everyone in the Bright Heart Hall cheered. Gu Jiao roughly understood that Master Wu's class was similar to the physical education class in her previous life. Everyone loved Master Wu's class. Master Wu was a good and considerate teacher. Even though he broke one of his arms, he still took the place of Master Wu who couldn't attend class. Master Wu, can we ask for leave? A student said, we ate something bad. Master Wu waved his hand. Go. Not long after, a few more students came over. Master Wu, we also have a stomachache. Master Wu nodded. Yes, it's approved. Wu Fuzi was a rare, understanding person. He had a stomachache because he wanted to watch the chess sages of the 6 nations play chess. Zhong Ding pulled on Gu Jiao's sleeve. Brother Xiao, they're all going. Let's go too? Will we get a demerit? Gu Jiao asked. Zhong Ding hurriedly said, No. Since Master Wu agreed to take leave, we won't get a demerit. Gu Jiao raised her eyebrows. That's feasible. Zhong Ding and Gu Jiao walked over. Before Zhong Ding could speak, Master Wu said, You also ate something bad? Got it. Go. Zhong Ding chuckled and went to the Immortal Wand Pavilion with Gu Jiao through the academy's back door. The Immortal Wand Pavilion wasn't far. After exiting the back door, they turned left and walked east for a mile. After crossing a street and passing through an alley, they could see the Immortal Wand Pavilion signboard. Only the Qinxiong Academy knew about the chess game between old Mr. Meng and the dean. Therefore, those who came to watch were all teachers and students of the academy. Most of the teachers went upstairs while the students crowded downstairs. Suddenly, an arrogant shout came from the alley. Don't you have eyes? Why did you bump into me? So sorry. Yes. Can't you speak properly? You're a stutterer. He really is a stutterer. Zhong Ding stopped and said to Gu Jiao, It's Zhou Tong and the others. Those are the students of the Wuyue Academy. Gu Jiao didn't know the students of the Wuyue Academy, but she knew the one called Zhou Tong. He was her classmate in the front row. He had just lent her his homework this morning. The one who was pointed at by the students of the Wuyue Academy and scolded as a little stutterer was him. Of course, Zhou Tong didn't stutter. He only stuttered when he was nervous. Zhong Ding said anxiously, The Wuyue Academy used to be a martial arts club. They focus on the martial arts examination. All their students are troublemakers. They are arrogant and despotic. Our academy is afraid of them. The leading student of the Wuyue Academy grabbed Zhou Tong's hair with one hand and lifted him up. He pointed at his shoes and said, Lick it clean. Don't go overboard. Zhou Tong's companion said. A student of the Wuyue Academy lifted his leg and kicked his companion who was speaking. With a painful cry, the Wuyue Academy student was kicked away by a figure who had appeared out of nowhere. The 4 students of the Qinxiong Academy were shocked. Xiao Lulang. Gu Jiao looked coldly at the Wuyue Academy student who grabbed Zhou Tong. Let him go. Don't make me say it again. The other party looked at Gu Jiao from head to toe. His gaze landed on Gu Jiao's left cheek. Where did this ugly boy come from? Do you think I'll let him go just because you asked me to? Who will lick him if I let him go? You? You want to lick him? Fine, I'll fulfill your wish. Gu Jiao said coldly. She lifted her hand and chopped down, hitting the nerve on the other party's arm. The other party's arm went numb and Zhou Tong fell down. Gu Jiao pulled Zhou Tong behind her and lifted her leg to kick the other party's chest. The remaining Wuyue Academy students saw this and attacked Gu Jiao fiercely. Gu Jiao took down one person with one move. In the blink of an eye, the 7 of them fell to the ground and cried out in pain. The Wuyue Academy student who called himself Young Master finally felt a trace of fear. He covered his chest and got up. He glared at Gu Jiao fiercely and stepped back unconsciously. Who are you? You bastard. Gu Jiao grabbed his hair and kneed his abdomen. He was in so much pain that he bent over like a prawn in a steamer. His shoes fell to the ground. Gu Jiao threw him to the side of the shoes. If you want to lick it yourself. Then, she said to Zhou Tong and the others behind her, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and follow me. Zhou Tong looked at the Wuyue Academy students who were beaten up in disbelief. His eyes fell on Gu Jiao's cold back and nodded. Ah, good. She's coming. He said to his companions, hurry up. Follow me. They stepped over the bodies of the Wuyue Academy students and quickly followed Gu Jiao. Zhong Ding also followed. The way they looked at Gu Jiao was different from before. They looked at her with admiration and a little intimacy. Zhou Tong kept stealing glances at Gu Jiao. What's the matter? Gu Jiao was impatient. She glanced at him, and Zhou Tong's heart almost jumped out of his throat. But when he thought of what happened in the alley, Zhou Tong felt that he should not be so scared. Thank you. Also, I'm sorry. Gu Jiao said, why do you always apologize to people? Zhou Tong said embarrassedly, I was forced to apologize to them. Actually, I didn't step on them. They deliberately stretched out their feet to trip me. The Wuyue Academy students like to bully us. He realized that his words were a little off topic and quickly went back to the topic. I apologize to you because I misunderstood you. He thought that he was the same as the Wuyue Academy students, violent and domineering. But reality proved that he was not. His martial arts were not used to bully people. You don't like to fight, right? You fought with the Horse King yesterday to save Miss Su. You beat them up today to protect us? Brother Xiao, you are a warm-hearted person. Gu Jiao, who was suddenly given a good person card, was speechless. Do you have some misunderstanding about what a good person is? They were delayed in the alley for a while. When Gu Jiao and the others arrived at the Shenwan Pavilion, the game was already over. Old Master Meng had also left in the carriage. Zhong Ding thought of the missed opportunity to meet Old Master Meng and could not help but burst into tears. I'm so miserable that I couldn't see Old Master Meng. This is the closest I've ever been to Old Master Meng. I won't have a second chance in my life. Woo-woo. Gu Jiao did not care about Old Master Meng. She came to find Mu Qingchen. Unexpectedly, Mu Qingchen also returned to the inner city. Gu Jiao suddenly thought of something. We will be given a demerit for skipping classes. Why won't Mu Qingchen? Did this guy have a special ability to skip classes? Zhong Ding said enviously, although he doesn't come to class, he always gets first place in every exam. How can they give him a demerit? 3 demerits, and he will be expelled from the academy. He is such a good seedling. Do you want to expel him or not? So the dean specially allowed him to study at home. Gu Jiao asked, don't the other students have any objections? Zhong Ding sighed. If they have any objections, they can ask Mu Qingchen to take the exam. So far, no one has beaten him. Gu Jiao touched her chin. Is he so good? Zhong Ding wiped his tears and said, but I heard that he is not going back to study this time. Something happened in his family, so he has to leave Xingdu temporarily. Gu Jiao was shocked. So, I won't see him for a long time? Then how could she enter the state preceptor hall? It was a dark and windy night. In a corner of a women's academy in the inner city, in a low-key but luxurious courtyard, a little black baby, who almost blended into the night, sneaked out with a small bag in his arms. The bad brother-in-law went to take a bath. He wanted to take the opportunity to slip away. He wanted to find Jiao Jiao. The little black baby went through the dog hole, climbed the tree, climbed over the wall, jumped down the tree, and climbed down in one go. Finally, he got out of the academy. He came to the vast sky. He stood on the quiet street. Jiao Jiao, your favorite little man is here. Squeak. Little black baby fell and fell face first onto the ground. Whoosh, a carriage galloped over. If the coachman had not seen the bag, he would have run over it. He quickly pulled the reins and stopped the horse. What's wrong? The person in the carriage asked, "Master, there's a child." The coachman looked for a long time before he realized that there was a child under the bag. The child was too dark. "Go and see." The person in the carriage said. "Yes." The coachman jumped off the carriage and walked toward the child. He wondered if the child was unconscious or dead. Just as he squatted down to check the child's breath, the child suddenly raised his head. "Mother." The coachman was so scared that he ran 10 meters away. The person in the carriage heard the commotion and raised his hand to lift the curtain. "What's wrong?" Xiao Hei got up from the ground, picked up the small bundle, and hugged it in his arms. He looked at old Master Meng in the car cutely. "Grandpa, can you take me to Jiao Jiao?" Digression. Well, at the end of the month, I still have to remind you to vote. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896/10796948 HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 633. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. Old Master Meng looked at the dark little boy. He looked less than 5 years old. His eyes were big and bright, as if they were filled with all the simplicity and beauty in the world. Old Master Meng was not a compassionate person. Of course, he was not a cold-blooded person who would ignore a helpless child. Under normal circumstances, it was best for him to report such things to the authorities. Old Master Meng thought for a while and asked, "Did you come out alone? Where's your family?" Xiao Hei rolled his eyes. "I can't say bad brother-in-law. Otherwise, what if Grandpa sends me back to bad brother-in-law?" Xiao Hei hugged the small bundle in his arms and said seriously, I'm going to find my family." "Where is your family?" Old Master Meng asked. "At Qinqiang Academy." Xiao Hei said. He knew Jiao Jiao went to Bad Brother-in-Law's Academy. Bad Brother-in-Law thought he didn't know what the academy was called. Humph, he was the one who put away the document. How could he not know? Coincidentally, old Mr. Meng had just gone to the vicinity of the Qinqiang Academy and played a game of chess with the Qinqiang Academy's teacher. Old Master Meng couldn't help laughing. He asked the little boy, "Qinqiang Academy is in the outer city. Since your family is in the outer city, how did you get into the inner city?" Xiao Hei's eyes darted around again. "Ren Yazi brought me here." Ren Yazi was bad brother-in-law. It turned out that he was a kidnapped child. No wonder he was running on the street so late at night. He must have just escaped from Ren Yazi. Old Master Meng said to Xiao Hei, "Get in the car first." Xiao Hei hugged the small bundle and ran over. He first threw the bundle up, and then he climbed up with his short legs, huffing and puffing. Old Master Meng was amused by his charmingly naive look. "What's your name?" Xiao Hei patted the dust off his body and picked up the bundle on the outside of the car. He got in and said to old Master Meng, "I'm Jing Kong." Mr. Meng said, "Jing Kong. What a special name. Why does it sound like a Buddhist name?" Little Jing Kong climbed onto the bench beside old Master Meng and sat down obediently. Old Mr. Meng couldn't help but tease him. "Aren't you afraid that I'm also a brat?" Little Jing Kong shook his head like a rattledrum and said seriously, "You're so kind, sage-like, and righteous. How can you be a prostitute?" The highest level of flattery was to flatter you with whatever you lack. To be honest, old Mr. Meng did not have the demeanor of an immortal at all, nor did he have a benevolent countenance. He looked just like an ordinary little old man. However, the old man's carriage was obviously very expensive. The child could not afford to sit in such an expensive carriage. Old Master Meng was once again amused by little Jing Kong. Men who had reached the age of knowing their own destiny would have more self-awareness. Even if they were 100 years old, they would still be the same. That was, although they were so ordinary, they were so confident. This little fellow has a good eye. He had the demeanor of an immortal and was full of righteousness. The coachman couldn't bear to watch. Little fellow, you're black-hearted and black-hearted. How can my master praise you like that? And my master, don't you know what you look like? Old Master Meng said, you said your family is in Chincheong Academy. Is he a student of the academy? Or, little Jing Kong said, a student. Old Master Meng was confused. There's a student named Jiao Jiao. Wasn't that a girl's name? Chincheong Academy was full of male students. Cough. Little Jing Kong regretted his slip of the tongue just now and hurried to remedy it. Her name is Lulang. Jiao Jiao is her nickname. Old Master Meng's mouth twitched. Why would a grown man have such a strange nickname? Old Master Meng thought about it again and finally decided to send the little fellow to the yamen and let the yamen handle this matter. However, since Chincheong Academy was in the outer city, the yamen in the inner city usually did not handle disputes in the outer city. Old Master Meng lifted the curtain and ordered the coachman who had returned to the outer seat, go to the outer city, 3 Flower Street. Chincheong Academy was on 3 Flower Street. The coachman whispered, Master, at this time the inner city gate should be closed, right? Old Master Meng said, it's okay. Tell them to use the State Preceptor's Passage. The State Preceptor's Hall was very powerful and had an exclusive passage at each city gate. As an honored guest of the State Preceptor's Hall, Old Master Meng could use the passage of the State Preceptor's Hall if there was an emergency. The coachman drove the carriage to the inner city gate in the south. He flashed Old Master Meng's token and used the passage of the State Preceptor's Hall to get out of the city. The carriage rushed all the way to 3 Flower Street. Little Jing Kong was very sleepy. As soon as he got on the carriage, he began to peck rice like a little chicken. After pecking for a while, he leaned his head on Old Master Meng's arm and fell asleep. Old Master Meng knocked on the door gently and said to the coachman, slow down. He's asleep. Yes. The coachman answered. After a while, the coachman said to Old Master Meng, Master, we're almost at 3 Flower Street. Which part of 3 Flower Street are we going to? The yamen of 3 Flower Street, Old Master Meng said. This child was kidnapped by a trafficker. His family must be very worried. Maybe they had already reported the case to the yamen. It was the best choice to send him to the yamen now. What's more, this child was very strange. Old Master Meng always felt that he didn't tell the whole truth. It was better to leave it to the yamen. Old Master Meng's idea was good. However, God's plan was better than man's. A group of robbers appeared in Chengdu, which had always been strict. Old Master Meng, who was in a luxurious carriage and didn't have any guards with him, undoubtedly became the target of the robbers. There were 10 robbers in total. All of them were masked and holding big knives. It was obvious that they didn't come with good intentions. Old Master Meng saw that the situation was not good. He hurriedly said to the coachman, turn around. Go back. The robbers, who were lying in ambush, suddenly rushed out. There were 5 of them and blocked their way. If you don't stop the carriage, we'll shoot. The leader of the robbers threatened. Old Master Meng looked back through the gap of the curtain. These were not ordinary robbers. They were a group of desperados. If they fell into their hands, not only would they be robbed of their money, but they would also be killed. Old Master Meng made a prompt decision. Don't stop. Rush over. Only one of the 10 robbers was holding a bow and arrow. Now that they had turned around, the back of the carriage should be able to block the arrows for a while. Old Master Meng's horses were all good horses. As long as they rushed over, they could get rid of them. The coachman gritted his teeth. Go. The carriage began to run at full speed. Boss. They ran away. One of the robbers said, Huh. The leader of the robbers grabbed the bow and arrow from the hand of one of his men. He aimed at the carriage and shot. What he shot was not the back of the carriage, but the wheels. With two loud cracking sounds, the wheels on the right side of the carriage broke, and the carriage flipped over without warning. Old Master Meng hurriedly protected the child in his arms. The carriage turned over, and the three of them fell out of the carriage. Old Master Meng said to the coachman, Go quickly. Go and report to the yamen. Master. Go. Yes. The coachman took a horse and went to the side of the forest. The leader of the robbers sent one of his men to chase after the coachman. The rest of the robbers rode forward and surrounded Old Master Meng. Old Master Meng fell in a very embarrassing way, but there was no fear in his eyes. He looked at the robbers coldly. Don't you want money? I'll give it to you. That's straightforward. The leader of the robbers carried a big knife on his shoulder and looked at him carelessly. I don't want to kill anyone today. Consider yourself lucky. Give me the money. Old Master Meng took off his money bag and threw it to him. The leader of the robbers opened it and looked at it. He immediately said with disdain, So little. Boss. The robber next to him pointed at little Jing Kong in Old Master Meng's arms. There's a child. The leader of the robbers quickly looked at little Jing Kong. Old Master Meng covered little Jing Kong with his sleeves. The robber said, It's a boy. Do you remember that person? Didn't he always want a son? Let's sell this boy to him. The leader of the robbers frowned and said, It's so black. Can we sell it? The robber laughed and said, It'll be white after we wash it. That's fine. It's better than nothing. The leader of the robbers pointed at Old Master Meng with a long knife and said, Bring him here. Old Master Meng protected little Jing Kong and said, If you want money, I have it at home. Follow me to get it. The leader of the robbers sneered and said, Do I look so easy to fool? Follow you to get it? Wait for the authorities to find us? You. He pointed at the robber next to him. Bring the child here. Yes. The robber got off the horse and went to Old Master Meng's arms to grab little Jing Kong. Old Master Meng blocked him with his hand. The leader of the robbers said, Don't break his arm. He can't be sold. Yes, boss. The robber pulled out the long knife at his waist and chopped at Old Master Meng's hand fiercely. Since he couldn't take the young one, he would chop the old one. Anyway, the old one couldn't be sold for money. Just as the long saber was about to fall, an austere eagle's cry suddenly came from the sky. Before anyone could react to where the eagle's cry came from, they saw a black shadow swooping down from the night sky. Like a black lightning bolt, it whizzed towards the man holding the saber. In the next second, the handle of his knife fell. He covered his eyes and fell to the ground. My eyes! The gerfalcon pecked out one of his eyes. Seeing this, the leader of the robbers pulled his bow and arrow and aimed at the gerfalcon. At this moment, little Jing Kong woke up. He opened his eyes and saw that someone was going to shoot little Nine. He jumped up and said, Don't shoot little Nine. Otherwise, I won't be polite to you. Who would listen to a child's words? The leader of the robbers pulled his bow fully. Little Jing Kong took out the black fire pearl stolen from his bad brother-in-law and threw it out. With a bang, the air was filled with the strong smell of sulfur. Little Jing Kong looked at the leader of the robbers, who was unharmed. You threw it in the wrong direction. Old Master Meng, who was turned into charcoal by the explosion, spat out a mouthful of black smoke expressionlessly. Oh, my bad, my bad. Little Jing Kong scratched his little head and took out another black fire pearl. Then he blew little Nine up. Little Nine's feathers turned into mush. Gee, Little Jing Kong took out the third black fire pearl and blew himself up. Little Jing Kong, who was spitting out black smoke, was speechless. Ha 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 ha. The robbers had never seen such a stupid kid. They were all convulsing with laughter. With a thud, one of the robbers fell from the horse and fell to the ground. Thud. Another robber fell down with a smile. Thud, thud, thud. Finally, the robbers realized that something was wrong. One of the robbers quickly covered his nose with his arm. Oh no, there's sleeping gas. The black fire pearl that Gu Jiao customized for Xiaoheng wasn't very powerful. It wouldn't kill anyone, but it was mixed with sleeping gas, which could quickly make the robbers lose their ability to move. This sleeping gas was indiscriminate, and it was also effective on the robbers. Xiaoheng had the antidote in his hands. Unfortunately, little Jing Kong didn't know that he only stole the black fire pearl. All the robbers were knocked out. Old Master Meng was also knocked out. This sleeping gas was only effective on humans. Little Nine didn't fall. Little Jing Kong didn't fall either. Little Jing Kong scratched his head. Why did they all fall? He skipped to old Master Meng and squatted down. Grandpa. Even the robbers couldn't resist its effects. Old Master Meng wouldn't have any reaction. Little Jing Kong sighed. Forget it. I'll go find Jiao Jiao myself. Old Master Meng was a good person. He wouldn't leave him alone. Jiao Jiao's medical skills were excellent. He would take old Master Meng to find Jiao Jiao. He grabbed old Master Meng's collar as if he was holding a sack and walked forward silently. Little Nine, let's go. If Gu Jiao were here, she would be very surprised. Little Jing Kong was much stronger than before. He didn't need to exert any effort to drag old Master Meng. Little Jing Kong didn't know the exact location of Qianxiong Academy. He could only walk forward aimlessly. He walked through the quiet streets and dark alleys. The light in his heart guided him to walk forward bit by bit with determination. He didn't know how long he had walked. He was tired, hungry, and sleepy. He grabbed old Master Meng and yawned. Jiao Jiao, where are you? He really couldn't walk anymore. His calves and legs were no longer his. His hands were sore. He wanted to Jiao Jiao. Suddenly, a familiar voice came from behind. Jing Kong. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is more complete and updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. All the novels with content that can't be found on the internet are available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896422826/1079495569. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 634. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. All the novels that can't be found on the internet will be available here. Little Jing Kong's little body froze. He opened his eyes wide and turned around, looking at her in a daze. Jiao Jiao. Little Jing Kong, who had been looking for her all the way, suddenly felt extremely wronged. He cried out loudly, Jiao Jiao. It's really you. Gu Jiao walked over, squatted down, and held the little guy in her arms. Gu Jiao didn't dare to recognize him just now, because this child's steps and figure were similar, but his face was too dark. Her Jing Kong was a fair and tender little boy. How did he suddenly become a little black boy? Little Jing Kong didn't feel wronged when he was alone, but he felt wronged when someone loved him. Little Jing Kong cried loudly, and successfully cried himself into a little rain fairy. Gu Jiao didn't expect to meet little Jing Kong here, or to be exact, she didn't expect little Jing Kong to come to the Yen Kingdom. Little Jing Kong looked very disheveled, and there was a strong smell of sulfur all over his body. At the same time, Gu Jiao also noticed that little Jing Kong was holding a person. Now she was sure that it was a person. She thought it was a big gunny sack, just now. Gu Jiao had too many questions in her heart, but this wasn't the place to talk. She decided to bring little Jing Kong back, but before that, she needed to make sure whether it was necessary to bring this person back as well. Who is he? Gu Jiao asked. Old Master Meng's face had already been blown up, and he couldn't even recognize his own mother. Little Jing Kong didn't stop crying, and said while sobbing, "He's a kind-hearted grandfather. He brought me to find Jiao Jiao. Then he was accidentally blown up and fainted. Okay, I got it." Gu Jiao brought both of them back. This place was not far from where they lived. It was just across the alley. Gu Xiaoshun and Gu Yan had already rested. Master Lu was practicing martial arts in the courtyard, while Master Nan was refining poison at the side. Creak. The courtyard door was pushed open. Mistress Nan hurriedly put down the medicinal herbs in her hands. "Jiao Jiao is back." Just as he finished speaking, he saw a small, swarthy head poke in. Madame Nan was startled. Then, she saw a little black baby holding Gu Jiao's hand and walking in. Gu Jiao was carrying a person on her shoulder. Madame Nan stood rooted to the ground in a daze. What was going on? Jiao Jiao went out on a trip. How could he bring two people back home? Madame Nan opened her mouth. "Jiao Jiao, call them," Gu Jiao said to Little Jing Kong. Little Jing Kong called obediently, "Madame Nan." Then he turned around and called, "Master Lu." Ouch! Master Lu punched his own face, causing his nose to bleed. Where did this little black baby come from? Why did he speak like Little Jing Kong? Wasn't Little Jing Kong in Jiao State? He must have seen a ghost in the middle of the night. Madame Nan was as shocked as her husband. Fortunately, she put down the poison in her hands, otherwise she would have put it into her mouth. She looked at the little black baby in front of her, who wished he could blend into the night. "This is Jing Kong?" Little Jing Kong put his hands behind his back and tilted his head. "Madame Nan." This familiar posture, this familiar tone, it was clear that it was the clear sky. Why are you so dark?" Madame Nan finally couldn't help but ask with her soul. Gu Jiao was also curious. Little Jing Kong felt wronged. It's all because of the sun. It was because of the bad brother-in-law. It was so hard to follow the bad brother-in-law all the way. Madame Nan asked again, "Who brought you to the end state?" A 5-year-old child couldn't have come here by himself. Little Joe fluttered his wings and landed on the wall of the courtyard. Little Jing Kong rolled his eyes and pointed. "Little Joe brought me here." Everyone was speechless. Gu Jiao had asked this question on the way. Little Jing Kong even told her about the robbery, but he didn't tell her who he came to the Yen state with. Madame Nan could only give up for now and ask again later. She looked at the person who was carried in by Gu Jiao and asked, "This person is?" Gu Jiao said, "A kind old man. He brought Jing Kong out of the inner city. I'll take him for treatment first." Master Lu came over after dealing with the nosebleed. "Let me." Master Lu carried him into the central room and put him on a chair. Gu Jiao went to get a small medicine box. Little Jing Kong was like a little tail behind her. He followed wherever Gu Jiao went. "Are you hungry?" Madame Nan smiled and entered the room. "I'll cook a bowl of noodles." Little Jing Kong played with his fingers and said, "I want to eat Jiao Jiao's egg soup." Gu Jiao looked back at the little tail behind her and smiled. "I'll make it for you later." Madame Nan smiled and said, "I'll go and burn the firewood first." She went to the kitchen. Gu Jiao continued to treat the old man. He was fine, except for some scratches on the way back when Little Jing Kong dragged him back. The other thing was that he inhaled the knockout drug in the black fire pearl. He would wake up after the knockout drug wore off. Gu Jiao suddenly thought of a question. Little Jing Kong was also blown up by the black fire pearl. He should have been knocked out by the knockout drug. Why was Little Jing Kong fine? Besides, where did he get the strength to drag the old man all the way back? Did he become so powerful after learning from Gu Chongqing for a few days? Did he awaken some hidden talent? Gu Jiao asked the question in her heart. Little Jing Kong thought for a while and felt that he could answer the question honestly. Little Chick Monkey also taught me Kung Fu. Little Chick Monkey? Gu Jiao was confused. Gu Jiao treated old Master Meng's injuries and put him in the small study. Then, she went to the kitchen and cooked a bowl of steamed egg with foie gras for little Jinkong. She also cooked a bowl of vegetable noodles for him. Little Jinkong ate heartily. Jiao Jiao's cooking is so delicious. Unlike his bad brother-in-law, the food was so bad. It was not easy for him to survive with his bad brother-in-law. Boo-hoo. I'm so pitiful. After little Jinkong had eaten his fill, Master Lu took him to take a fragrant hot bath. During the bath, Master Lu asked him how he came to the Yen Kingdom. Little Jinkong was very smart and did not say a word. After the bath, he hugged a small pillow and lay on Gu Jiao's bed contentedly. He rolled here and there. After the third round, he fell asleep. He was exhausted from the night and was snoring nonstop. It was not the hottest time of the day. In Chengdu, the night was still a little cold. Gu Jiao went into the room and put a thin quilt on little Jinkong's stomach. "Who brought you here?" Gu Jiao murmured. "Jiao Jiao." Madame Nan called Gu Jiao in a low voice at the door. Gu Jiao put down the curtain and walked over gently. She asked, "Madame Nan, what's wrong?" Madame Nan handed a wet brocade pouch to Gu Jiao. "I found this when I was washing little Jinkong's clothes. It was sewn in the interlayer. At first glance, you couldn't see it. But when you put it in the water, the dye in the brocade pouch spread." Gu Jiao took the colorful brocade pouch and squeezed it. She said, "There's something." She opened the brocade pouch, and a folded craft paper fell out. When the craft paper was opened, there was a note. It was written clearly in the language of the Yen Kingdom. "My book boy was lost when he was young. If you find him, please send him to the Linglong Pavilion of the Kanglan Women's Academy. We will reward you handsomely." Digression. As the saying goes, the devil goes. 23333 Your brother-in-law is still your brother-in-law. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is more complete and updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. You can find all the novels that you can't find on the internet here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/1079487111. HTML Genius remembers this website's address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Go mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 635. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated more quickly. Millions of novels can be read for free. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found on the internet. Errand Boy? Kanglan Women's Academy? The one who brought little Jinkong to the Yen Kingdom was a woman? Like Gu Jiao, Madame Nan also caught the two important pieces of information. She frowned and said, "Was Jinkong abducted?" Those who could live in Kanglan College were either female students or female teachers. And Linglong Pavilion sounded like a dormitory for female students, so it was more likely to be a female student. None of the girls that Gu Jiao and Madame Nan knew met this condition. Could it be Mo Qianxue? Madame Nan asked. She had been to Pushui Alley too many times, so she naturally heard of Hua Xiao and Mo Qianxue. Mo Qianxue had been to the Yen Kingdom, but this guess was quickly denied by Gu Jiao. She went to the Yen Kingdom with Prince Consort Huang Fuzhang and sneaked into the Yen Kingdom from the Qin Kingdom. It was not a formal way. She shouldn't be able to enter the academy in Chengdu. If she can't, then Hua Xiao can't. Madame Nan frowned. It can't be Princess Xinyang. Princess Xinyang is a mother. How can she go to the academy to study? Whether she studied or not was secondary. Princess Xinyang was the princess of the Zhao Kingdom. The nature of her visit to the Yen Kingdom had changed. It was a political visit, so there must be rumors in Chengdu. If she visited secretly, she needed to hide her identity. Did she think that she would not be exposed quickly enough if she went to the academy in the inner city? The last and most important point was, Gu Jiao said if it was Princess Xinyang, Jing Kong wouldn't run away. The little guy even took his luggage and the black fire pearl. It was obvious that he sneaked out in the middle of the night. Black fire pearl, Gu Jiao murmured. The black fire pearl was a hidden weapon that she made for Xiaohong. How could little Jing Kong have it? Did Xiaohong also come? No, he couldn't come. She had taken away his admission papers. Therefore, little Jing Kong had secretly taken away Xiaohong's black fire pearl in Zhao country. Little Jing Kong was extremely daring. It was not something that he would not do. Gu Jiao looked at the note with the words, "My book boy," written on it again. The fact that little Jing Kong could escape from her meant that he was not a good person. Otherwise, would little Jing Kong run away if he was a good person? Little Jing Kong was a good child who knew how to repay kindness. Even his grandfather, who had left the city, was injured. He knew that he had to bring his grandfather over for treatment. If that person was the one who saved Jing Kong would not abandon her. Gu Jiao's mind was already filled with a series of detestable acts of human traffickers, selling children from thousands of miles away, hiring child labor, not giving them food or water, oppressing them to death, and beating and scolding them at every turn. Songlan Women's Academy, right? Very good. Gu Jiao clenched her fist, and the paper ball turned into ashes. Woman, you will pay the price. Early the next morning, Gu Yan and Gu Xiaoshan knew that little Jing Kong was abducted to the Yan kingdom. It was Madame Nan who told them. Madame Nan asked them not to ask about it. He didn't mention it at all. I think he was scared and didn't want to recall it. Madame Nan even found a reasonable explanation for little Jing Kong's evasiveness. It was undeniable that Madame Nan had a certain talent in the field of imagination. Oh, Gu Xiaoshan agreed obediently. Only Gu Yan had a look of suspicion. That little monk? Was he scared? However, Gu Yan was still very weak. He muttered a few words in his heart and fell asleep again. Little Jing Kong also woke up. He was practicing martial arts in the backyard. After practicing, he sat down and practiced for a while. Gu Jiao already knew that the little chick monkey he mentioned was Marquis Xianping. Gu Jiao was puzzled. When Marquis Xianping was recuperating in the Pushui Alley, he was in a cast. How did he manage to abduct little Jing Kong to practice martial arts? Gu Jiao looked at the vigorous little Jing Kong, and then looked at the old grandpa who still hadn't woken up from the knockout drug. But he taught him well. After breakfast, little Jing Kong stayed at home. Gu Jiao and Gu Xiaoshan went to the academy to attend classes. In the past, it was Gu Jiao who sent little Jing Kong to school. Now it was little Jing Kong who watched Gu Jiao go to school. He found it quite refreshing. However, he felt lonely after Gu Jiao left. Suddenly, he turned around and saw the big black horse in the backyard. The horse king, who was eating grass, was shocked. An ominous premonition came to its mind. Another wicked person wants to harm me. Gu Jiao went to Mingxin Hall. As usual, she walked to the last row near the back door. There were basically no people sitting in the last row. If there were, it would be her and Mu Qingchen. Mu Qingchen didn't come today, but the back row was full. Oh no, there was a seat left. Everyone in the back row looked at Gu Jiao in unison, waved at Gu Jiao in unison, and smiled warmly at her in unison. They even showed their teeth in unison. Gu Jiao, who had recognized Zhou Tong, was unable to recognize him for the whole afternoon. Gu Jiao looked around and found that except for the back row, only the first row was empty. She took a deep breath and resisted the urge to throw out the group of people who came from the first row to compete with her for the last row. She walked over and sat down with a poker face. Gu Jiao raised her hand and was about to ask who could lend her homework when Zhou Tong turned around and put a pile of homework on her desk with a smile. It's all done for you. Gu Jiao was speechless. At noon, Gu Jiao went to have lunch. Brother Xiao, I've got it for you. In the afternoon, Gu Jiao went to shoot arrows. Brother Xiao, I've got the arrows for you. Brother Xiao, I've made the annotations. Brother Xiao, I've got the toilet paper for you. Toilet paper? Why was there toilet paper? Gu Jiao, who wanted to go back to the dormitory and put the cloak back in Mu Qingqian's closet, came out with a gloomy face. Gu Jiao spent an indescribable day in the academy. Dealing with these clingy people was more tiring than attending classes. Finally, when school was over, Gu Jiao's head was smoking. Gu Jiao grabbed her bag and walked out. Gu Xiaoshun didn't wait for her. As soon as she walked out of the academy, a carriage stopped in front of her. Gu Jiao didn't pay it any attention. Unexpectedly, a girl in a pink dress jumped out of the carriage and called out to her. Xiao Lulang. It was Mu Qingqian's sister, Su Shui. Gu Jiao glanced at her and continued walking. Your brother isn't here. Su Shui caught up with Gu Jiao. I know he's not here. He's out of Sheng. I'm not looking for him. I'm looking for you. What's up? Gu Jiao asked. Can't I look for you if there's nothing? Su Shui pouted. Why did this line sound so familiar? Gu Jiao looked at her strangely and said seriously, You can't. Su Shui choked and her steps slowed down. Did this person know how to talk? Could it be? Gu Jiao walked in front of her. Gu Jiao was tall for a girl, and her steps were fast. Su Shui struggled to keep up. Su Shui gasped for breath. Can't you walk a little slower? I came all the way here to find you. Can't you wait for me? Why are you as unreasonable as my roommate? Gu Jiao stopped. Your roommate? Gu Jiao finally remembered. She looked at Su Shui. Last time, you said that your new roommate was a mute and brought along a little black baby? Su Shui nodded. That's right. Gu Jiao paused. What's the child's name? Little Black? Su Shui blinked and sighed helplessly. How would I know his name? Gu Jiao glanced at her. Don't you share a room with them? Su Shui muttered, but I don't live in the academy's dormitory. This was the truth. Her home was in the inner city. Why would she leave the luxurious mansion to live in a dormitory? Was she crazy? As expected of siblings, their habits of not living in the dormitory were exactly the same. Gu Jiao continued, You should know that woman's name, right? Su Shui immediately exploded. Xiao Lulang. You're too much. How dare you ask me about another woman's name? Are you interested in her as well? What are you thinking? I don't even know her. Gu Jiao was baffled. How could Su Shui's thoughts jump around like this? Why would she think of this? Why would she be interested in a stranger? And a woman at that? Su Shui snorted. Then why are you asking about her? Oh, I know. Did you also hear about her beauty? So you want to curry favor with her like those lechers? Let me tell you, there's no hope. How many young masters of the country can't even catch her eye? You forget it. What kind of nonsense is she talking about? Gu Jiao said indifferently, I have a grudge with her. Really? Su Shui's eyes lit up and her expression changed. What kind of grudge? Thinking about the oppressed little Jingkong, Gu Jiao's eyes emitted killing intent. He coldly said, an absolutely irreconcilable grudge. Sanglan Women's Academy's Linglong Pavilion. A certain person fiercely sneezed 3 times. Su Shui happily said, Then I'll take you to find her. Digression. Recently, I want to adjust my work schedule. The update time is not fixed, so everyone comes to refresh every afternoon. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. Novels that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhpqg.com/8964-2_8964-28266/1079445558. HTML Genius will remember this website's address in 1 second. www.zhpqg.com Pen Fun Pavilion's mobile reading website. zhpqg.com. Chapter 636. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. Gu Jiao sat in Su Shue's carriage. Su Shue's coachman saw his young miss bring an unfamiliar man into the carriage and couldn't help but remind her in a low voice, "Young miss, this isn't appropriate, right? Men and women shouldn't touch each other. If master and madam find out, they'll punish you." Su Shue coldly snorted, "If you don't say anything, how will my parents know? Or are you planning to betray me and secretly tell on me to my parents? I'm warning you. If you plot against me behind my back, I'll make sure you can't stay in the Su family anymore." The coachman hurriedly replied, "This little one wouldn't dare. This little one wouldn't dare. Young miss, don't worry. This little one will keep my mouth shut." "That's more like it." Su Shui raised her eyebrows in satisfaction. Looking at the tightly closed curtains, she smiled knowingly and lifted her skirt to get into the carriage. She sat down on the bench next to Gu Jiao. She wore a pink and white tunic dress that accentuated her lithe figure and slender waist. Although she wore a veil, her limpid eyes were dazzling and beautiful. Actually, from Mu Qingchen's appearance, one could guess that Su Shui wasn't bad either. However, Gu Jiao wasn't a real man, so he wouldn't drool over Su Shue's beauty. Her eyes were clear without the slightest hint of profanity, causing Su Shue's face to turn even redder. He was a rare gentleman. Being in the same room as her, he didn't have the slightest intention of offending her. The carriage traveled on the wide street with an endless stream of pedestrians. The sounds of hawking could be heard, creating a bustling scene in Shangdu. "Young Miss Su, can you walk a bit faster?" Gu Jiao asked. If she walked too slowly, it would be dark soon, and she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to leave the city in time. Su Shui wished that she could walk a bit slower, but since Xiao Lu Lang requested, she could only comply. "Oh, Ah Fu, walk a bit faster." "Yes, young miss." The coachman called. Ah Fu whipped the horse, causing it to gallop. Su Shue's face darkened. "I told you to go faster, not this much. I'll deduct your monthly allowance when I get back." The Kanglan Women's Academy was located in the southeast of the inner city of Chengdu. It was one of the 4 prime locations in the inner city, and the only women's academy in Chengdu. It wasn't that there weren't any girls' schools in other places, but most of them were small private schools that had a separate class for girls. The last few times she came here, she was either hiding under the car, or she was being watched. She didn't have the chance to properly appreciate the local customs of the inner city. Today, thanks to Su Shui, she lifted the curtain and looked to her heart's content. The outer city was already bustling, and the inner city was even more so. Su Shui saw that she kept looking outside and thought that she was in a hurry. So she said, "We'll be there soon. We'll take a shortcut and go around the back door of the House of Duke. We'll be there in less than 10 minutes. Speaking of which, what kind of grudge do you have with my roommate?" Of course, Gu Jiao could not say that her roommate had abused her jinkong. She only said, "Anyway, that's what happened." "All right, I won't say it." Su Shui didn't get to the bottom of the matter. After all, she could tell that Gu Jiao really wanted to teach that new beauty a lesson. She wasn't like those playboys outside who said all kinds of things, but in fact, they were all there to see the beauty. "I believe you," she said with a smile. Gu Jiao was baffled by this sudden belief. Why would Su Shui believe her? The carriage went on for a while before it suddenly stopped. Su Shui frowned and said unhappily through the curtain, "What's wrong? Who told you to stop?" Young miss." The coachman's voice was not right. Su Shui lifted the curtain and said in surprise, "Father." It was a carriage from the Su house that stopped at almost the same time as Su Shui's carriage. The person inside the carriage lifted the curtain, revealing a stern, middle-aged face. It was Su Shui and Mu Qingchen's father, Su Yuan, courtesy name Rongchuan. His sharp gaze swept over the guilty coachman and Su Shui. Su Shui's heart skipped a beat. She hurriedly walked out of the carriage and closed the curtains tightly. She stood outside the carriage and said to Su Yuan, "Father, what a coincidence. Didn't you bring fourth brother out of the city? Why are you back so soon? Where's fourth brother? Is he in your carriage?" Su Yuan did not answer Su Shui's question. In fact, There was no need for him to answer. If Mu Qingchen was in the carriage, he would have come out to help Su Shui resolve the awkwardness. Su Yuan's gaze was fixed on the curtain behind Su Shui. Su Shui inconspicuously moved and tried to use her body to block the curtain. This was really a case of giving herself away. "Who is it?" Su Yuan asked in a deep voice. "No, no one." Su Shui hurriedly waved her hand. Su Yuan was a martial artist, so how could he not sense the presence in the carriage? Moreover, Su Shui and the coachman's reactions had already betrayed everything. Gu Jiao lifted the curtain and openly walked out. When Su Yuan saw that it was a green, clothed youth, his gaze instantly turned cold. He did not judge people by their appearance, but the arrogance in the youth's eyes made him frown slightly. "Who are you?" Su Yuan coldly asked. "Xiao Lulang." Gu Jiao said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. Su Yuan narrowed his eyes. "You're Xiao Lulang?" Su Shui hurriedly explained. "That's right, father. He's the Xiao Lulang that I told you about. He saved me from the horse's hooves." "Father, you weren't there at the time, so you don't know how dangerous the situation was. Even fourth brother couldn't save me. If it wasn't for him, I would have." Before she could finish, Su Yuan's cold gaze landed on her, and she immediately shut her mouth. Su Yuan was very angry that a man and a woman were in the same room. However, no matter how unruly Su Shui was, he still had to teach her a lesson behind closed doors. Su Yuan would not embarrass her in public. However, Su Yuan did not hide his arrogance in front of a commoner. "You're Qingchen's classmate. It was Qingchen who told you to come visit more often, right? Unfortunately, Qingchen isn't home today, so you've made a wasted trip." He did not mention that Gu Jiao had saved Su Shui's life, only acknowledging that Gu Jiao was Mu Qingchen's classmate. Even Gu Jiao sitting in the same carriage as Su Shui was said to be looking for Mu Qingchen. After he finished speaking, he looked at Su Shui, who was beside Gu Jiao, and sternly said, "Why aren't you coming over?" Su Shui bit her lip and slowly jumped off the carriage. She walked over to her father's carriage, looking back every few steps. The servants laid out the wooden steps for Su Shui. Su Shui walked up the steps. "Go in," Su Yuan said to her. Su Shui entered the carriage, feeling wronged. Su Yuan continued to look at Gu Jiao and said, "Qingchen isn't home, so I'm sorry for making young master Xiao come here for nothing. Fu, send young master Xiao back to the academy. When Qingchen comes back, I'll ask him to invite young master Xiao to the manor." Su Shui's expression changed. "Father," Su Yuan said sternly. "Fu." "Yes." Fu did not dare to disobey Su Yuan's order. He turned the carriage around and drove towards the southern city gate. Su Shui looked at the carriage that was gradually moving away and stomped her feet. "Father, why did you do that?" Su Yuan put down the curtain and sat down opposite Su Shui. "I should ask you why you did that. You're a girl, yet you're sitting in the same carriage as a commoner. What if someone saw you? Don't you want your reputation?" Su Shui snorted. "Father, there's no what if. Those who were more powerful than her wouldn't bother to block her carriage, and those who were weaker wouldn't dare to block her carriage. How could they be discovered?" Su Yuan said sternly, "You're still quibbling. Also, don't mention that he saved your life. He didn't save you. He was just training the horse. Don't you feel ashamed to be associated with a commoner?" Originally, Su Yuan didn't even want to admit that the kid was Mu Qingchen's classmate. However, in order to make it sound reasonable, he had to change the fact that his daughter brought him to the capital, and Mu Qingchen invited him to the capital. Su Shui argued, "But he did save me." "Father, you don't want to admit it. Do you think my life is worthless?" Su Yuan said seriously, "I'm worried that he'll rely on the Su family. If he uses saving your life as an excuse to stay with the Su family, you won't be able to marry for the rest of your life." Su Shui said angrily, "I didn't want to marry in the first place." Su Yuan's face darkened. "I know that he saved your life. I'll have someone prepare a gift for him and send it to the academy. He should be satisfied with the reward from the Su family. You'd better not make this mistake again. He doesn't have a talisman in the inner city. If the government finds out that you brought him into the city without permission, the consequences will be unimaginable. Su Shui felt wronged. Isn't the government run by our family? You. Su Yuan was furious. What did she mean by the government run by the Su family? Was this girl not afraid of her whole family being executed? Su Shui said angrily, "Grandfather is the governor of the capital. Isn't the matter of Cha Fujia the government's official business? Who would dare to investigate me in the capital? Do they want to die?" This was the truth. But you can't say it. If His Majesty heard it, wouldn't the Su family follow in the footsteps of the Shen Yuan family? Su Yuan gritted his teeth. "How dare you say such things? I'm only talking to father. I'm not talking nonsense outside." Who didn't know that? Su Yuan was choked by her words. After a while, he remembered what he wanted to say. "Why did you bring him to the inner city?" Su Shui wasn't stupid. Naturally, she wouldn't say that Xiao Lulang had a feud with someone. She said, "He's never been to the inner city, so I brought him around." Who knew he'd run into father? "Humph," Su Shui said. In order to avoid exposing herself, she quickly changed the topic. She turned around. "Father, you're unreasonable. I don't want to talk to father anymore. I want to go back and tell grandfather that father bullied me and fourth brother's friend." Su Yuan said coldly, "What do you mean you and fourth brother's friend? Is he worthy?" Su Shui, remember this. You're the Su family's daughter. You can't lower your status for a commoner. Su Shui was angered to tears by Su Yuan. Seeing his daughter cry, Su Yuan frowned and sighed helplessly. "All right, let's not talk about him. Wipe your tears. Father will take you somewhere." "I'm not going." Su Shui refused without hesitation. Su Yuan said, "You don't even know where we're going, and you're saying you're not going?" Su Shui choked with sobs. "I'm angry. I don't want to go anywhere." Su Yuan said, "It's Elder Meng's chessboard." Su Shui's crying stopped. Su Yuan knew that her interest was piqued. He continued, "Yesterday, Elder Meng encountered a group of robbers in the outer city. His whereabouts are unknown. His coachman reported it, but unfortunately, the Yamen only caught the unconscious robbers and didn't find Elder Meng. Some people speculate that Elder Meng might have met with misfortune." Su Shui was stunned. "Then are we going to burn incense for him?" Su Yuan was speechless. Su Yuan said, "We're going to meet Elder Meng's eldest disciple. That disciple has received Elder Meng's teachings and is second only to him in chess. In the past, we wouldn't have been able to meet him. Now that Elder Meng is in trouble and we're helping the chessboard, it's a good opportunity to rope him in. Perform well in a while and try to gain his favor so that he can accept you and your sister as his disciples. Your sister is already there. I'm not worried about her. I'm only worried about you." In the entire family, Su Shui was the one who caused him the most worry. On the other side, Fu was driving the carriage slowly towards the city gates. He wasn't worried that the guards would stop his carriage to check if there were any inner city Fu Jia inside. After all, this was the Su family's carriage. Even if they did check it, they would just hand it over to the capital office and have the Su family's old master release it. He just felt a little sorry for the people in the carriage. Today's incident was quite embarrassing. He said sincerely, "Sai, young Master Xiao, don't take it to heart. The old master's mouth is unforgiving, but he definitely won't mistreat you behind your back. When you return to the academy, you might even receive a gift from the old master. However, let me give young Master Xiao a piece of advice. The Su family's young miss isn't someone you can make friends with. You should give up. Be a sensible person, and the Su family will protect you. What do you think?" Young Master Xiao ignored him. The coachman continued, "Young Master Xiao, am I right? Young Master Xiao. Young Master Xiao." Fu felt that something was strange. He turned around and lifted the curtain, only to see that the carriage was empty. The person who should have been sitting inside had disappeared without a trace. Digression. Happy May Day. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_89642826/1079281142. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com BQG mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 637. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. After Gu Jiao got off the carriage, she went back the way she came and arrived at the Tsanglan Women's Academy. Although the Tsanglan Women's Academy was located in the inner city, it covered a large area, at least larger than Gu Jiao had imagined. This brought trouble to Gu Jiao's search. Where is Linglong Pavilion? She looked around. I can't just ask anyone. The Tsanglan Women's Academy didn't allow outsiders to enter. She was dressed in men's clothing, so her sudden appearance here could easily cause misunderstandings. Fortunately, it was still early, so she just had to search the courtyard one by one. She didn't know if it was because the beauty was too famous, but all the gossip Gu Jiao heard while secretly strolling around was about her. From the information from these people's mouths, the beauty had just arrived in Chengdu, unlike Gu Jiao, who had become the most popular person in Clear Heart Hall in just a few days. This new beauty had become the public enemy of all the young ladies of the Tsanglan Women's Academy. She never invites people to dinner and calculates every copper coin clearly. I've never seen such a stingy person. She doesn't help when we ask her for help. She doesn't lend us anything when we ask her. Stingy. She doesn't allow people to enter her dormitory or touch her things. She has a bad temper. She's so arrogant and always has a cold face. Isn't she just relying on those men to like her? She only knows how to seduce men all day long. Little vixen. But her homework seems to have been praised by the teacher again. Yes. She got first place in yesterday's exam again. I really want to tear her apart when I see her proud look. She has no status and no backing. Can't she use this to raise her value so that she can find a good husband in Chengdu in the future? The entrance requirements of the Tsanglan Women's Academy were very high. Most of the students were young ladies of aristocratic families or extremely talented women. Most of them were married to men of the Yan Kingdom. Therefore, the Tsanglan Women's Academy was also known as the Academy for Brides of the Six Kingdoms. Many young masters from aristocratic families had come here to find beauties from the academy. After hearing so much, Gu Jiao couldn't help but admire the beauty in his heart. How did she manage to pull the hatred of all the students in the academy to the max? Look, someone is sending something to Linglong Pavilion again. It must be for her. One of the female students pointed to a small courtyard in the southeast and said sourly. Gu Jiao looked over. Oh, is that Linglong Pavilion? The few of them left while cursing. Gu Jiao looked in the direction of Linglong Pavilion and walked over. It was neither early nor late. The sun was setting in the west, and the warm yellow light fell on the cornices of the Pavilion of Delicacy. Gu Jiao climbed over the wall and entered the courtyard. There was more than one bedroom in Linglong Pavilion. Gu Jiao followed the maidservants, who came to deliver things to a room at the end of the corridor. After the maidservants left, Gu Jiao flashed in. The women's room was more exquisite than the men's room. The room was separated by yellow pear wood cabinets. One of the bed curtains was down, and there was a faintly discernible figure inside. There was nothing in the room on the other side. It matched what Su Shui said about her not staying. Very good, it seems to be her. Gu Jiao took out her mask and put it on. She took off the whip at her waist and slapped it on the ground. Gu Jiao coldly said, "Are you coming out yourself or do I have to drag you out? You don't want to come out? Okay." Gu Jiao directly whipped the person out of the curtains. But how was this a student of the academy? It was clearly a fake person. Gu Jiao frowned. Does he know I'm coming to find him? The number one beauty of Tsanglan Academy naturally knew that Gu Jiao was coming to find her. Or more accurately, she was coming to find him. The number one beauty was none other than Xiao Hong, who brought little Jing Kong to the Yen Kingdom. Little Joe came back with Gu Jiao's headband in his mouth last night. Xiao Hong knew that the little fellow had found Gu Jiao. With the little fellow's nature, he might not tell him. But in order to prevent the little fellow from getting lost, he put the address of Ling Long Pavilion in the little fellow's clothes. Therefore, whether the little fellow told him or not, Gu Jiao could find him. Gu Jiao looked like she was going to punish him. The little fellow must have slandered him in front of Gu Jiao. Xiao Heng's teeth hurt. Of course, he was not avoiding Gu Jiao because he was afraid that Gu Jiao would punish him. It was because he did not want her to know that he was the new beauty of the academy. Fortunately, he was prepared. Gu Jiao was in the empty room. While she was thinking about the other party's intentions, someone came from the corridor. Gu Jiao hid behind the rosewood screen cabinet. The door was pushed open and a girl wearing a pink and white uniform walked in. After she entered the room, she closed the door and bolted it. Then she walked to the bed where the fake person was. Gu Jiao sneered and walked out from behind the screen cabinet. "You are the student of this dormitory?" The young girl seemed to be shocked. She turned around with a pale face and looked at Gu Jiao with eyes full of fear. Gu Jiao looked at her lovely face. She was indeed a beauty, but wasn't it a bit exaggerated? But then she thought about it. She did not see anyone more beautiful than her on the way here. The girl gestured with her hands. She was probably asking who she was. Seeing that Gu Jiao did not answer, she looked at Gu Jiao with pleading eyes. Then she pointed at a table not far away. There was a brush, ink, paper, and inkstone on the table. Gu Jiao understood and walked over to sit down. The young girl came to the table. Only then did Gu Jiao notice that her right hand seemed to be injured and was bandaged with white gauze. The girl frowned slightly. She spread out the white paper and used her left hand to write with great difficulty. "I am a student of this dormitory. May I ask who you are? Why did you come to my room?" Gu Jiao remembered Su Shui saying that she was a little mute. She was not surprised that she answered with writing. "Can you hear me?" Gu Jiao asked. The girl nodded and wrote, "I'm not deaf." Gu Jiao looked at the handwriting on the paper. It was different from the handwriting on Jing Kong's body. But it was not difficult to understand. After all, the handwriting of ordinary people was different. Gu Jiao took out a dyed note from her purse and handed it to her. "Did you leave this?" The girl took it and looked at it. Her eyes lit up and she wrote, "Young master, did you find Jing Kong?" Gu Jiao looked at her excited expression. She did not look like a cruel girl who would abuse children. Gu Jiao was a little confused. "You know his name is Jing Kong?" The girl hurriedly wrote, "He told me. I met him at a dock in the Yen Kingdom. At that time, he was alone and pitiful, so I took him with me." "Which dock?" Gu Jiao asked. "Tongqing Dock." The girl wrote, "There was such a dock in the Yen Kingdom, but it was not on the road to Chengdu. Why did Jing Kong go there? Who brought him to the Yen Kingdom?" "I asked him about his past, but he didn't tell me." The girl continued to write. "He only said that he was going to Chengdu to find Jiao Jiao. I asked him who Jiao Jiao was, but he didn't tell me. Could it be that Jing Kong was abducted to the Yen Kingdom and escaped by himself? Did he meet this kind-hearted girl after he escaped? She misunderstood him. She did not mistreat Jing Kong. She was good to Jing Kong. As for why Jing Kong ran away, it was because Jing Kong wanted to find her. This wasn't impossible. As for why Jing Kong did not let the girl bring him to find her, it was because she had Xiao Liulong's admission certificate. Her identity could not be exposed. Jing Kong was a smart boy." "So, I misunderstood you." Gu Jiao looked at the girl and said. The girl smiled and wrote, You think I bullied him, so you came to find trouble with me? You care about him so much. Who are you to him? Gu Jiao did not answer her question. Instead, she said, "It's a misunderstanding. Sorry for offending you. Thank you for taking care of Jing Kong these days. I will repay you if I have the chance. I'm leaving now. Take care." There was a warehouse next door. Xiao Hung put his ear to the wall next door. He did not heave a sigh of relief until Gu Jiao left after finishing her sentence. He found the girl and told her the lines in advance. He even took into account the difference between his handwriting and hers. Finally, he managed to deceive everyone. But he was not as happy as he imagined. Or, to be exact, he was a little disappointed. He wanted to see her. He missed her very much. He wanted to settle the score with her face to face. He also wanted to ask her how she was doing these days. He had never missed someone so much. He missed her so much that his heart ached. He was so angry with her, but he was still worried that she was not taking good care of herself. Xiao Hung rubbed his chest, took a deep breath, and stepped out of the warehouse. He came to the door of the dormitory. He suddenly regretted it when he remembered that she was here, just now. If he had known, he would not have let her go. He lowered his eyes and opened the door. When he saw the figure on the ground, he looked up. Gu Jiao, who had already left, was standing in front of him. She looked at him and smiled. "Lord Xiao, long time no see. Digression, Beauty Xiao. Jiao Jiao is still young. She can't have a baby. Let's have a baby first. Please double the monthly votes. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that you can't find online. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896428226/1079233793. HTML Genius, memorize the website's address. www.zhbqg.com Bkj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 638. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. All the novels that can't be found online will be available here. It was as if Xiao Hong had been struck by lightning. His entire body froze in place, and it took him a long time to realize the situation in front of him. He lowered his head to look at his flamboyant academy uniform and ran away. Gu Jiao reached out with her small hand and grabbed his collar, dragging him into the room. She slammed the door shut and pressed him against the wall. Then, she reached out with her other hand and pushed his back, locking the door. Her movements were smooth and fluid, all done in one go. Gu Jiao looked at Xiao Hung, and Xiao Hung even stopped breathing. Should he say that her movements were too handsome, or that her gaze was too murderous? Xiao Hung's mind went blank. Everything happened too suddenly. Xiao Hung simply didn't understand how she had stayed. She had clearly said goodbye, and he had clearly heard her leave. But the truth was that the person who had left was the famous actress that he had invited from a theater. Gu Jiao coldly looked at Xiao Hung, her fingertips brushing past his handsome face. She narrowed her eyes dangerously. Husband's appearance is really pitiful. From now on, should I call husband Lord Xiao or husband Beauty Xiao? Xiao Hung choked and his face flushed red. He looked at her with a resentful expression. You're still angry? Who was the one who drugged me and left me behind? I still haven't settled this debt with you. Gu Jiao's eyes moved. Oh, she had forgotten about this matter. Gu Jiao let go of his collar and began to tidy up his messy clothes. Her eyes immediately became obedient. See, here it comes again. This girl would always pretend to be obedient whenever she was in the wrong. He couldn't forgive her so quickly. Otherwise, she wouldn't learn her lesson. If they encountered this kind of situation again in the future, she would still leave him behind. Xiao Hong pushed her hand away and sat down at the table coldly. Gu Jiao blinked and sat down beside him. Gu Jiao went to get the teapot and poured him some tea. "It's hot." He quickly blocked Gu Jiao's hand, grabbed the thick cloth on the table, and removed the teapot from the stove. After taking it, he realized that he shouldn't have done that. It was as if he had already forgiven her. He quickly put on a cold face. In addition to getting even with Gu Jiao, the other reason was to divert her attention so that Gu Jiao would not notice that he was dressed as a woman. Gu Jiao rested her chin on her hands and looked at him. "Husband, so the first beauty from the academy is you." No wonder even Su Shui was jealous. Her husband was the most beautiful, and she couldn't accept any rebuttal. Xiao Hong choked. Fortunately, the sky was dark and there was no light in the room, so she couldn't see his red face. "Isn't that because of you?" he said in a serious tone. "Oh." Gu Jiao's lips curved as she stared at him without blinking. "Xiao Hong, I'm talking business with you." Gu Jiao, she continued to stare at him. Xiao Hong wished that he could cover her eyes with his hand. Gu Jiao's lips curved slightly. "Husband, you're quite charming like this. Could this girl stop talking? If she hadn't taken his admission document, he wouldn't have taken hers. How did you see through it just now?" Xiao Hong tried his best to change the topic. "Oh, that," Gu Jiao said. She said it herself. Xiao Hong was slightly startled. He saw Gu Jiao glance at the note on the table. There were two kinds of handwriting notes on the table. One was obviously written with a crooked hand, while the other was written with smooth and elegant handwriting. Gu Jiao continued, "When I was about to leave, a dagger fell in front of her. She caught it with her right hand." She had deliberately dropped the dagger in order to see if her right hand was injured. Xiao Hong frowned. "You suspected that she was lying from the beginning?" "Of course not." Xiao Heng's plan was flawless. Although the girl's personality was slightly different from the rumors couldn't be used as evidence to define a person. Gu Jiao had her own standards and logic, so she wasn't affected by objective facts. Gu Jiao pointed at the dummy on the bed. "But why did you put a dummy made of a pillow?" Xiao Hong raised his eyebrows and muttered in a voice that only he could hear, "Just for a bit." Gu Jiao was speechless. Gu Jiao finally understood the whole story from Xiao Hong. It turned out that she also had an admission certificate. She was more and more curious about the white-bearded old monk. He was really a kind and considerate monk. In addition, little Jing Kong didn't mention Xiao Hong because he didn't want to go to school. Little Jing Kong studied in the gifted class. The best gifted class in the Yen Kingdom was in the inner city, just a wall away from the Kanglan Women's Academy. Gu Jiao's mouth twitched. How could he play truant at such a young age? Xiao Hong saw that Gu Jiao was shocked by the truth. He sneered. "Oh, he's only obedient in front of you." Who knew what kind of little devil he was in private? "How's Gu Yan?" Xiao Hong asked. Gu Jiao said, "He's awake now. He's relying on medicine. I applied for leave for him from the academy. The academy approved it. Madam Nan found a house nearby. Xiao Shun and I don't live in the academy. We go back every night." Hearing this, Xiao Hong secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't know if he was glad that Gu Yan was fine for the time being or that she didn't live in the men's dormitory. Xiao Hong said, "Well, since you're here, we should change our identities." Gu Jiao asked curiously, "Why do you want to change it back?" Xiao Hong said lightly, "Why? Do you still want to pretend to be a man? It's improper to hang out with a group of men all day long." Gu Jiao looked at him and said, "But your identity is safer. Those who want to kill you won't be able to guess that you'll enter the Yen Kingdom with such an identity." Xiao Hong couldn't refute for a moment because the truth was as Gu Jiao said. He had been in the Yen Kingdom for a long time and hadn't encountered anyone who wanted to kill him. There was even one time when he stayed in the same inn with the Nangong family. But the Nangong family didn't recognize him when they walked past him. His current identity was indeed his most powerful protection. But Gu Jiao understood what he was worried about. You don't have to worry about me. Nan Gongli has seen you and knows that you don't look like me. At most, he'll think that I'm someone with the same name or someone who's here to impersonate you. As long as we don't contact each other on the surface and don't have any interactions, people won't think that we've exchanged identities. This era wasn't the information era. News didn't spread as fast as imagined. We'll be careful. We won't be exposed, Gu Jiao said and patted her small chest. This is the best arrangement right now. Trust me. Xiao Hong looked at her deeply and said with a complicated expression, You just want to fight, right? The people of Qinxiong Academy were more resistant to beatings. Gu Jiao looked at him with a pained expression. How could that be? His guess was so accurate. Under Gu Jiao's persuasion, as well as mainly holding hands, Xiao Hong finally accepted the suggestion of not exchanging identities for the time being. The curtain of night had completely fallen. The two talked and forgot to light the lamps in the room. The room was dusky. Only fragments of moonlight penetrated through the gaps in the window lattice. Unknowingly, the sky was so dark. It turned out that time could pass so quickly when two people were together. It's getting late. I should go, Gu Jiao said. I'll send you. Xiao Hong said. There's no need. I can go out by myself. Gu Jiao remembered the way. Xiao Hong paused and said, I want to send you. Gu Jiao didn't refuse again. The two walked out of Xiao Heng's room. Gu Jiao thought that Ling Long Pavilion was as quiet as his room. When she walked out, she found that Ling Long Pavilion was bustling with noise and excitement. Only his little world was so quiet that it seemed to be isolated from the rest of the world. Gu Jiao said, I'll send Jing Kong back tomorrow. Xiao Hong snorted. Humph, you'd better let him stay in the outer city. He'll be so annoying when he comes back. His words were full of disdain, but his tone wasn't harsh. Gu Jiao smiled and said, I got it. The two avoided the people of the academy and came to a place where it was easiest to climb over. Let's stop here. Gu Jiao looked at him and said, It's not safe for you to go out like this. Xiao Heng's face darkened. Did she have to rub salt into his wound? Okay, I'm leaving. Gu Jiao stepped forward and jumped over the wall. Her movements were clean and efficient. Xiao Hong was stunned. You're leaving just like that? Wasn't it too fast? Didn't she have anything to say? Eat well, drink more water, and don't flirt with those rich young ladies. Oh. Gu Jiao retracted her leg that had already stepped over. She jumped down and came to Xiao Hong. She tiptoed and kissed his face. Xiao Hong was slightly stunned. I didn't mean that, Gu Jiao thought for a moment. Then, you mean this? She stood on her tiptoes again, grabbed his collar, and kissed his lips. Xiao Heng's brain exploded with a bang. Gu Jiao gently pressed down on him and then let go of him. Unexpectedly, before her heels touched the ground, Xiao Hong suddenly hugged her waist and pulled her into his arms. Xiao Hong pressed her against the cold wall. He held her waist with one hand and protected her back with the other to prevent the wall from touching her. His longing was intensified by the night. His breathing gradually became heavier. He stared at her with his deep eyes, lowered his head, and pressed his lips against hers in a domineering and gentle manner. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_89642826/10790966. HTML Genius. Memorize the website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Go mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 639. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, Please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found online. This kiss lasted for a long time, and the night seemed to linger. The surroundings were so quiet that only the sound of kissing could be heard. It was so shy that the full moon hid behind the clouds. Xiao Heng's arms tightened little by little, and their bodies were tightly pressed together. The night wind in Chengdu was slightly cold, and his heart was boiling. He used a lot of restraint to let go of her. His right hand gently stroked her head, and her lips were tender and beautiful. Their foreheads touched, and their breaths intertwined. His heart, which had been empty for many days, finally felt a little comforted at this moment. He couldn't help but find her lips and kiss her again. Then Gu Jiao kissed him back. She knew that she had to respond. Xiao Heng chuckled softly, and his strong arms hugged her tightly. He said hoarsely above her head, "Jiao Jiao, if you continue like this, you won't be able to leave tonight." Gu Jiao didn't move. But after a while, she asked him especially bravely, "When will the city gate close?" Xiao Heng said, "Today is Haizheng." Gu Jiao calculated and said, "There's still a quarter of an hour." She meant that she could stay for another quarter of an hour. Xiao Heng stared at her and laughed. "A quarter of an hour won't do." "Huh?" Gu Jiao looked at him strangely. Xiao Heng coughed violently. I mean a quarter of an hour. You can't make it." She meant that they could stay together for another quarter of an hour. What was he thinking? Fortunately, she was quick to change her mind. "Oh." Gu Jiao raised her eyebrows and looked at him. Just when Xiao Lulang thought that she didn't understand anything, she suddenly questioned him with a scholarly spirit. "Is that right?" Novices always took seconds. Xiao Heng. When Gu Jiao returned to the residence, the three little boys were already asleep. As usual, Master Nan and Master Lu were waiting for her while doing their own things in the courtyard. Master Nan brewed the poison. Master Lu vigorously performed 2 sets of martial arts before he went to fix the broken tables and stools in the house. Gu Jiao told them about her encounter with Xiao Heng, and both of them were stunned. Was that person Lulang? Was he the one who brought little Jing Kong to Chengdu? When they thought of little Jing Kong's pitiful and aggrieved expression, as if he had been abducted by a prostitute, the corners of their mouths twitched. How much did the little fellow dislike his brother-in-law? "You can't smear my name like this." But when they thought of how Lulang had actually replaced Gu Jiao's identity and entered Kanglan Women's Academy, they couldn't help but feel a little amused. Gu Jiao took Xiao Liulang's admission certificate, and Xiao Lulang took Gu Jiao's admission certificate. What kind of huge blunder was this? "I think it's a good thing," Master Lu said. "Aren't there people in the Yen Kingdom who want to kill Lulang? They probably wouldn't have thought that Lulang was right under their noses." "That's true." Master Nan nodded in agreement. Looking at it this way, it was a blunder. It was a good thing for Lulang, and it was also good for Gu Yan. If the one who entered the inner city was Gu Jiao, then Gu Yan would be separated from Gu Jiao. Now, the person who couldn't leave Gu Jiao was Gu Yan. He was in danger and needed Gu Jiao's treatment at any time. Master Nan thought of something and asked, "Eh? Then why didn't you recognize Liu Long's handwriting?" Gu Jiao said, "He changed his handwriting." The Zhao nation's handwriting was different from the Yen kingdom's. Gu Jiao had only seen Xiao Heng's Zhao nation's handwriting, but she had never seen his Yen kingdom's handwriting. Even if it was the Yen kingdom's handwriting, the handwriting he used to write in Zhao nation was very different from the handwriting he used to write in Yen kingdom. Xiao Heng was a very cautious person. He wouldn't leave any evidence for others to use against him in this kind of matter. "What about little Jing Kong?" Master Nan asked. Gu Jiao said, "Go back to school in the inner city." Master Nan sighed, "Then he will be sad." It wasn't easy for him to escape from the evil hands of his bad brother-in-law, but he was sent back in the blink of an eye. The little guy was going to cry. Gu Jiao could tolerate little Jing Kong's other matters, but there was no room for discussion about going to school. Early the next morning, little Jing Kong received the bad news that he was going to be sent back to the inner city. He held the bowl and felt that the rice in the bowl was no longer fragrant. He asked tearfully, "Jiao Jiao, am I still the little boy you love the most?" Gu Jiao rubbed his little head. "But you still have to go to school." Little Jing Kong cried, "Boo-hoo, little Shi will miss me." "Who is little Shi?" Before Gu Jiao could ask clearly, the horse king, with a small braid and little flowers, came directly from the backyard. He picked up little Jing Kong's small bag and put it outside the door. "I approve." Qianqiong Academy was on holiday today, so there was no need to ask for leave. After breakfast, Gu Jiao took little Jing Kong into the carriage to enter the city. Gu Xiaoshun sent the two to the inner city gate as usual. Gu Jiao took the inner city seal that Xiao Heng gave her last night and held little Jing Kong's hand as they went to the city gate. The seal was issued by the Kanglin Women's Academy according to the personal documents. Gu Jiao and Jing Kong's names were written on it. Gu Jiao entered the city dressed as a woman and wore a veil, so the city guards didn't see any flaws. After entering the city, Gu Jiao hired a carriage. "Get in." Little Jing Kong felt wronged. Gu Jiao said, "I will visit you often." Little Jing Kong held the small bag and pouted. "I need 2 kisses before I can get in." Gu Jiao kissed him twice. Little Jing Kong then carried the small bag and got into the carriage. Gu Jiao sent little Jing Kong to the agreed place, a tea house near the Kanglin Women's Academy. It was inconvenient for the two to meet in public, so little Jing Kong went in by himself. Xiao Heng was already waiting in the side room on the 2nd floor facing the street. Little Jing Kong went to the side room, opened the window, and leaned on the windowsill to report to Gu Jiao that he was safe. Xiao Heng hugged him with one arm, and his gaze had already landed on the carriage. Gu Jiao also looked at him. The two looked at each other from a distance. The last time they looked at each other like this was when he was paraded on the street as the top scholar. They wouldn't wait too long. After she cured Guyen and got rid of a Nangong family, they could walk on the street openly. "Miss, where are we going next?" the driver asked. "To the South City Gate," Gu Jiao said. "Is Miss in a hurry?" the driver asked. "Yes," Gu Jiao said. "Then I'll take the shortcut." The driver waved his whip and drove the carriage away. Gu Jiao sat in the carriage and closed her eyes to rest. Halfway through the journey, the carriage suddenly stopped. "What's wrong?" Gu Jiao opened her eyes and asked. The driver hesitated and said, "Miss, I'm afraid we'll have to change the route." Gu Jiao sensed that something was wrong. She lifted the curtain and looked outside. She saw that something was happening on the street in front of them. The people gathered around, and there seemed to be sounds of beating and cursing in the middle of the crowd. "Let's change," Gu Jiao said. This wasn't the Zhao country. Her identity couldn't be exposed. It was better not to get involved in this kind of thing. "Aya, someone is going to be beaten to death." Just as Gu Jiao was about to put down the curtain, an auntie's voice came from the side of the road. An old man not far from her said, "Who is beating people?" The auntie said, "Who else?" "The young master of the Nangong family." "Nangong?" Gu Jiao's hand paused. She lifted the curtain slightly and looked at the auntie on the side of the road and asked, "Excuse me, what happened in front?" When the driver heard this, he put down the whip. The auntie sighed and said, "Ai, a few horse slaves drank too much wine and said a few disrespectful words to General Nangong. Young Master Nangong heard them. Young Master Nangong ordered people to beat them up. He said to beat them to death." Gu Jiao asked, "Aren't you afraid of being held accountable for beating them to death?" The auntie sighed and said, "It's just a few horse slaves. If they die, no one will care." Gu Jiao said again, "Auntie, who is the General Nangong you mentioned?" The auntie said, "Nangong Li Daran. A while ago, he returned to his hometown to worship his ancestors. On the way, he was ambushed and seriously injured. When he returned to Xingdu, he was on the verge of death. Those horse slaves said that he couldn't cure them, which provoked young master Nangong to make a big fuss. It was Nangong Li who injured Guyen. He actually didn't die. A middle-aged man said, "It's not the first time young master Nangong beat people to death. Last time, the servant of Assistant Minister Luo's family was tragically killed by him. That servant was a good citizen. Gu Jiao put down the curtain and asked the driver, "Where's the Nangong family?" The driver said, "Miss, do you want to go to the Nangong family?" The Nangong family moved to a new mansion near the imperial palace. "If we go with a carriage like this, we will be arrested." Gu Jiao paused and asked, "Is the Nangong family very powerful?" "Very powerful." The driver said, "These years, they have obtained military power and are becoming more and more powerful." If cough. The coachman stopped in time. If what? If Marshal Xin Yuan was still alive, would it be the Nangong family's turn to be domineering? In the past, the Xin Yuan family had millions of soldiers. How powerful were they? The Nangong family was just a dog that kneeled and licked the Xin Yuan family's boots. After the Xin Yuan family's rebellion was defeated, their military power was divided into 4 parts. They were divided between the Nangong family, the Han family, the Wang family, and the Mu family. Among them, the Nangong family contributed the most to the war against the Xin Yuan family and obtained the most military power. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_89642826/107908151. HTML Genius, memorize this site's address. www.zhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 640. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. Did no one report it to the authorities? Gu Jiao asked. The coachman was stunned. "Miss, they are from the Nangong family. It's useless to report it." "Is that so?" Gu Jiao looked in the direction of the long street and murmured faintly. The coachman couldn't help but look back at Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao was wearing a veil, and her face was covered. Only a pair of calm eyes could be seen. It was a bit offensive to say this, but the coachman had never seen such a beautiful and cold pair of eyes. She looked at the Nangong family without a trace of fear in her eyes. The coachman faintly had an illusion that the girl he was carrying would raise her sword and slash at the Nangong family if he wasn't careful. The coachman was shocked by his own conjecture. Impossible, impossible. Although the Nangong family wasn't one of the top 10 families in Chengdu, that was only because they didn't have a deep foundation. It didn't mean that they didn't have the strength now. How could an ordinary person have the ability to compete with them? "The people from the Duke's public house are here," someone in the crowd suddenly shouted. The incident of the Nangong family beating up the horse slaves ended with the arrival of the second master of the Duke's public house. The Duke's public house was nearby. The second master of the Duke's public house must have returned from a trip and coincidentally encountered this incident. After the two sides negotiated for a while, the Nangong family left. The coachman said, "The second master of the Duke's public house is famous for being a playboy. Only he can stop the Nangong family. If it was someone else, they wouldn't have the guts." Since the incident had ended so early, this Nangong family's young master, Gu Jiao decided to meet him first. Gu Jiao left the money in the carriage and quietly got off. Then she found a ready-made clothing store and changed into a set of men's clothes that were convenient for traveling. She followed the Nangong family's young master. Her plan could not keep up with the changes. Just as she was about to find a suitable place to ambush, she was suddenly stopped by a carriage. The carriage stopped at the entrance of the alley. Gu Jiao planned to go around it. Unexpectedly, the person in the carriage lifted the curtain and called out to Gu Jiao in surprise, "It's you." Gu Jiao glanced at her indifferently and recognized her as Muru Xin. whom she had met once at the High Duke's public house. Gu Jiao didn't intend to pay attention to Mu Ru Xin. She turned around to go around the carriage from the back. However, a maid jumped down from the carriage and blocked Gu Jiao's path. "Stop. My young miss is talking to you." "Didn't you hear?" Gu Jiao shot a cold glare at the maidservant. The maidservant was so scared that she trembled and took a few steps back to support herself on the carriage. At this moment, another carriage slowly drove over and stopped beside Mu Ru Xion's carriage. The person in the carriage opened the window and asked softly, "Divine Dr. Mu, what happened?" Mu Ru Xion looked at Gu Jiao and said, "We met the doctor that young Master Mu invited from Zhao country." "The doctor that my fourth brother invited?" The young girl was shocked as she leaned half of her body out of the window and looked at Gu Jiao. Beside her, another head also popped out. "What doctor? Let me see." "Huh? Xiao Lulang." Gu Jiao held her forehead. "Why did Su Shui also come?" The young girl looked at Su Shui. "You know him?" Su Shui said excitedly. "Second sister. He's the classmate of fourth brother that I mentioned to you. He's fourth brother's friend." Mu Ru Xion looked at Gu Jiao. "So he's young Master Qing Chen's friend. I'm sorry for offending you last time." Gu Jiao had slapped her. Although she said those polite words, she might not really think that way. However, Gu Jiao didn't care. The Su family's second miss asked Mu Ru Xion, "Have you met Divine Dr. Mu?" Mu Ru Xion smiled and said, "We met once in the Duke's residence. Young Master Qing Chen brought young Master Xiao to treat the Duke's illness. Young Master Qing Chen had good intentions. I didn't expect that he would be used by someone." "Used by someone?" Is she saying that this young man is using fourth brother to curry favor or bring disaster to the Duke's residence? The Su family's second miss expression instantly turned ugly. Su Shui angrily rebuked, "Clean your mouth. Who's using my fourth brother? Is my fourth brother the kind of person who would be used by others?" Mu Ru Xion choked. The Su family's second miss said, "Third sister, don't be rude." Mu Ru Xion was the disciple of Qin country's divine Dr. Luo. Now, she was treated as a guest by the Duke's residence. Her status wasn't something that ordinary people could compare to. Moreover, they wanted her to treat old Mr. Meng's eldest disciple's cough. Humph! What's so great about him? Su Shui ignored her second sister and lifted her skirt as she ran down from the carriage. She stopped in front of Gu Jiao and asked with a smile, "You also know about medicine? Why haven't I heard you mention it before?" Mu Ru Xion saw that Su Shui was neither cold nor warm to her, but polite to a half-baked quack with a disfigured face. A cold light flashed through her eyes. The Qin country and Zhao country had accumulated resentment for a long time. Mu Ru Xion hated all the people of Zhao country, not to mention that this person had slapped her face. Mu Ru Xion narrowed her eyes and asked, "Young Master Xiao, since you're young Master Qing Chen's classmate, you must be studying at Tian Chong Academy. May I know why you've come to the inner city?" "Do you have a talisman to enter the city?" Su Shui's eyes flashed. She then remembered that Xiao Lulang didn't have a talisman to enter the inner city. She turned her head and glared fiercely at Mu Ru Xion. What does it have to do with you? Why are you meddling in other people's business? Don't be a doctor. You might as well go catch mice. As the saying goes, if a dog catches a mouse, meddles in other people's business. Was Mu Ru Xion calling her a dog? Mu Ru Xion was furious. The Su family's third young miss had previously been indifferent to her, but she hadn't been this rude. It was all because of this Xiao Lulang that she had been going against her in every way, embarrassing her in front of everyone. Mu Ru Xion looked coldly at Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao didn't care about Mu Ru Xion at all. She also didn't care about Mu Ru Xion's hostility. She said to Su Shui, "I still have matters to attend to, so I'll leave first. You should also hurry back." Su Shui wanted to say something but hesitated. She turned her head and looked at her elder sister on one side and Mu Ru Xion on the other. It wasn't a good place to talk. Su Shui coughed lightly and said, "When fourth brother returns, I'll go to the academy to see him. I'll also go find you." "Get in the carriage," Gu Jiao said. Su Shui smiled and waved at Gu Jiao, intending to turn around and leave. Mu Ru Xin, on the other hand, calmly moved her fingertips and pinched a broad bean on the table. With a flick of her finger, the broad bean shot toward Su Shui's knee. If it hit, Su Shui would definitely fall into Gu Jiao's crotch. If Gu Jiao saved her, it would be considered as taking advantage of Su Shui. If she didn't save her, it would be considered as not saving her. Su Shui would be bitterly disappointed, and the Su family's second young miss would be angry. Whether Gu Jiao saved her or not, it would be a dead end. Mu Ru Xin waited to see Gu Jiao's end, but she didn't expect that even though she was fast, Gu Jiao was faster than her. The moment the broad bean shot out, the silver needle at Gu Jiao's fingertips also moved. The silver needle hit the broad bean and suddenly shot toward Mu Ru Xin. Mu Ru Xin felt a sharp pain in her right shoulder, and she fell heavily on the floor of the carriage. The Su family's second young miss wasn't a martial artist, so she naturally didn't see the undercurrent. She only saw Mu Ru Xin suddenly holding her shoulder and falling down. She hurriedly asked worriedly, "Divine Dr. Mu, what happened to you?" "Young miss." Mu Ru Xin's maid walked up the carriage and helped Mu Ru Xin up from the floor. Mu Ru Xin held her aching shoulder and looked at Gu Jiao with cold sweat. "Young Master Xiao, you plotted against me without saying a word. Is this the etiquette of the Zhao people? You plotted against Divine Dr. Mu." "No." Second elder sister. Xiao Lulang wouldn't plot against her. Gu Jiao picked up the broad bean that had fallen to the ground after hitting Mu Ru Xin. There was a silver needle in the center of the broad bean. Gu Jiao pinched the silver needle. Mu Ru Xin, remember to wash your hands before plotting against others next time. Su Shui used a handkerchief to wrap the silver needle and the broad bean. There were several kinds of pastries in Mu Ru Xin's carriage. Gu Jiao hadn't touched the pastries in Mu Ru Xin's carriage, but this broad bean was obviously stained with a powder of pineapple cake and chestnut cake. At that time, even the maid got out of the carriage. The only one who could touch this broad bean was Mu Ru Xin herself. Su Shui suddenly understood. She looked at Mu Ru Xin and said, "I understand now. You plotted against Xiao Lulang first." Of course, Su Shui didn't know that Mu Ru Xin was aiming at her. However, her words weren't wrong. Mu Ru Xin was plotting against Xiao Lulang. Su Shui was just a tool for her to use. Gu Jiao came to Mu Ru Xin's carriage and looked at her indifferently. "Just now, I was just giving you a taste of your own medicine." Mu Ru Xin instinctively had an ominous premonition. She wanted to dodge, but it was too late. With a crack, her arm was dislocated by Gu Jiao. "This is a plot." Gu Jiao indifferently withdrew her hand and turned to leave. Mu Ru Xin was originally invited by the Su family's second young miss to treat old Mr. Meng's eldest disciple's cough. However, after such a thing happened, she didn't want to treat anyone else. "I'm not feeling well, so I'll take my leave first. Lu Yao, let's go." "Yes, young miss." Mu Ru Xin's carriage left. Su Shui returned to her elder sister's side and snorted. "Serves you right." The Su family's second young miss frowned slightly. Ever since the Duke Anne's condition improved, Mu Ru Xin's treatment in the Duke's residence increased by more than one level. Not only did she wear the most fashionable and expensive satin, she ate the most sumptuous delicacies and lived in the most spacious and bright courtyard. Even the daughters of the Duke's residence didn't receive such treatment. Thinking about what had happened during the day, she simply couldn't control her anger. She had long regarded herself as a person of high status. How could she tolerate being humiliated by a person of low status? Lu Yao entered the room and said softly, "Young miss, second madam sent someone to ask when the Duke's medicine will be ready." Mu Ru Xin coldly sat on the chair and looked at her painfully reattached arm. She gritted her teeth and said, "Tell second madam that I'm injured." I'm afraid I won't be able to treat the Duke for the next few days. Lu Yao reported the truth to Second Madam. Second Madam immediately put down what she was doing and brought 1,000-year-old ginseng to visit Mu Ru Xin. Mu Ru Xin sat on the bed with gauze wrapped around her arm. She said in a haughty tone, "Second Madam is considerate. But as Second Madam can see, I'm afraid my arm will need to recuperate for a while. I won't be able to perform acupuncture or brew medicine. You injured your left arm, not your right arm. Why won't you be able to perform acupuncture or brew medicine?" Second Madam patiently said in a gentle voice, "How about this? Give me the prescription, and I'll have someone brew it." Mu Ru Xin said, "That's my master's secret prescription. How can I easily pass it on to an outsider?" Second Madam wasn't stupid. Mu Ru Xin was obviously able to treat the Duke. She was deliberately putting on airs to discuss some conditions with them. Second Madam smiled. "Divine Dr. Mu, we're famous people. What will it take for you to continue treating the Duke?" What did she say? Move to Tingyin Pavilion? That's right. She said Tingyin Pavilion is suitable for recuperation. In the study room, Second Master Jing slammed the pen in his hand on the table. Tingyin Pavilion is Yin Yin's courtyard. Even though Yin Yin is no longer here, the things Yin Yin used are still here. She can't even go in to take a look, let alone move in. Second Madam sighed. "I knew you wouldn't agree, so I rejected her." Yin Yin was eldest brother's only flesh and blood. Her belongings were eldest brother's life. Second Master Jing frowned. "What did she say?" Second Madam said, "She said it's fine if she doesn't move to Tingyin Pavilion, but she can't be bullied by others. She wants us to capture the brat who injured her and let her deal with him." Second Master Jing asked, "Which brat?" Second Madam said, "Mu Qingchen's classmate. He's from Zhao Kingdom. Last time, he came to the Duke's residence to treat eldest brother's illness. But it seems he's just a quack and doesn't have any real skills." Second Master Jing hesitated for a while before saying, "All right, I'll go capture him. As long as she could treat eldest brother, not to mention a person from a lower country, even if it was a person from a higher country, he would still capture him for her." In order to express the importance he attached to Mu Ru Xin, he decided to go personally. Second Master Jing was swift and decisive. After 2 hours, he appeared at Tianqiong Academy. With the power of the Duke's residence, it wasn't difficult to find out the address of a student. Soon, Second Master Jing arrived at the residence, where Gu Jiao was temporarily staying. The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels can be read for free. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet can be found here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896422826/107890614. HTML Genius, memorize this website's address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Tingyin Pavilion's mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 641. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are read for free. Novels that can't be found on the internet are all available here. It's here, right? Second Master Jing looked at the wooden door, which had some paint peeling off, and thought that he was indeed a poor kid from a lower country. Even the place where he lived was so shabby. Second Master, I disdain to bully people from a lower country, but who asked you to overestimate yourself and be the enemy of Divine Dr. Mu? For Big Brother to be safe soon, I have to wrong you. Second Master Jing said coldly and raised his hand to knock on the door. This was the self-restraint that was engraved in his bones. But halfway through, He realized that he was here to catch someone and not to invite someone. To catch someone, I have to have the aura of catching someone. Second Master Jing retracted his hand and raised his chin as he majestically pushed open the wooden door of the courtyard. The scene in the courtyard was like this. Guyen was lying on a rattan chair to bask in the sun. Old Mr. Meng, who had just woken up from the knockout drug, was also lying on a rattan chair to bask in the sun. One was terminally ill and didn't have long to live, while the other was in a daze as he was still digesting the drug. Madame Nan was refining poison again. But as the saying goes, if one often walks by the river, how can one's shoes not be wet? She sneezed and the poison powder sprayed all over her face. She was successfully poisoned, and now she was leaning against the wall and spitting out black blood. Master Lu had just fought with the Horse King, and his right leg was cramping. He limped to the front courtyard. Second Master Jing looked at the courtyard full of old, weak, and sick people and was dumbfounded. This is too miserable. It made him a little embarrassed to make move. But then again, where is that kid? Although Second Master Jing had never seen Gu Jiao before, he had heard Second Madam's description. A teenager with a red birthmark on the left side of his face. This courtyard full of old, weak, and sick people obviously wasn't him. Just as this thought flashed through his mind, Second Master Jing heard a burst of shocking sound. Someone was practicing martial arts, and it was a spear. The sound came from the backyard. Second Master Jing couldn't help but look towards the direction of the rear courtyard. He was standing outside the front courtyard and was separated by the entire central room. He couldn't see the entire rear courtyard clearly. Only when Gu Jiao's figure appeared at the back door of the central room could he see her. However, this did not affect the shock that the young man brought to him. He could also tell that the youth's spear techniques were not flashy. Every thrust of the spear was like a swimming dragon, bringing with it the power to pierce through mountains and rivers. All of a sudden, Second Master Jing couldn't move. The youngster's figure only flashed past the door occasionally, but Second Master Jing felt an inexplicable excitement that he hadn't felt in a long time. He completely couldn't explain why. He even forgot that he was here to capture someone, and just silently admired the young man's marksmanship. Gu Jiao practiced the spear skills that the old marquis had taught her. As she practiced, she suddenly had an idea and used a move that she had never used before. This move was extremely powerful. It actually broke through the target in the backyard and flew towards the front yard. Second Master Jing's pupil shrank. Gu Jiao then realized that there was someone at the door. It was too late for her to draw her bow. She lifted her leg and kicked the quiver, causing an arrow to shoot out. Following that, she kicked her leg, and the arrow hit the red-tasseled spear, changing the direction of the red-tasseled spear. The red-tasseled spear whooshed and shot at the door beside Second Master Jing. Second Master Jing touched his cold neck. Just an inch, and he would be nailed to the door. The old, weak, and sick people in the courtyard couldn't even take care of themselves. After glancing at him, they went to sunbathe, suffer from Alzheimer's, get poisoned, and go to fix their legs. Second Master Jing. Gu Jiao walked over. After practicing for so long, she was sweating profusely and her cheeks were flushed. She exuded the heroic spirit and vitality of a young man. Looking at the young man walking towards him, Second Master Jing couldn't help but be absent-minded for a moment. For no reason, the image of his brother-in-law walking towards him many years ago flashed through his mind. At that time, he was just a dandy young man in Shangdu who needed to be beaten. One time, he was caught red-handed by the eldest son of the Shenyuan family for causing trouble on the street. At that time, he didn't know that that fellow would become his brother-in-law. He bragged that he would fight with him for 100 moves. In the end, his brother-in-law really beat him up for 100 moves, and he didn't have the strength to fight back. That day, when his brother-in-law walked towards him, he had the same look in his eyes, which reminded him of a wild wolf. The fear of being dominated by his brother-in-law surged into his heart. When Gu Jiao came in front of him, his whole body stiffened. "Who are you looking for?" Gu Jiao looked at him fixedly and asked, I'm looking for you. I'm going to catch you, so that divine Dr. Mu can vent his anger. I'm passing by. Second Master Jing cleared his throat and said, seeing Gu Jiao looking at him indifferently, his heart thumped, looking for some water. Gu Jiao pulled out the red-tasseled spear from the door, and the door cracked. He didn't know how many times this had happened this month. There were 2 carpenters at home, so he wasn't afraid. Gu Jiao took the red-tasseled spear and went into the house to pour water for him. Second Master Jing weakly looked at the wooden door beside him. With another crack, the wooden door completely cracked into 2 halves and fell down. Second Master Jing patted his small chest. Oh my God, that gaze was too small. It was like his brother-in-law's. It scared him to death. Second Master Jing's fear towards his brother-in-law was bone deep. God knows how many times he had been beaten up by his brother-in-law. After his brother-in-law died in battle, his hands were trembling when he went to collect his brother-in-law's corpse. He always felt that his brother-in-law was going to come back to life and beat him up before he died. Gu Jiao poured a bowl of cold water and passed it to him. Second Master Jing looked at the broken bowl and curled his lips in disdain. He didn't want to drink at all. But when Second Master Jing met that gaze that was exactly the same as his brother-in-law's, he snatched it with both hands and gulped it down. Gu Jiao saw that he drank it so quickly and asked, Do you want more? Of course not. I'm not here to drink water. Thank you. Second Master Jing said. After saying that, he hated that he couldn't slap himself. Jing Sheng, oh Jing Sheng, you have to be a little more mature. Your brother-in-law has been dead for so many years. You're so timid just because you met someone who has the same gaze as him. Are you still the #1 debauchee in Sheng City? Catch him. Tell him that if he dares to offend our Duke's family's godly doctor, he's dead meat. Gu Jiao poured a second bowl of water. I'm from Duke An's family, he said with a serious expression on his handsome face. Gu Jiao crossed her arms and looked at him indifferently. So, Second Master Jing felt guilty. I heard that you've treated my eldest brother's illness. Eldest brother? So, this person was the one who stopped Nangong Gongzi's violent act on the street this morning? Gu Jiao thought for a while. Are you here to pay the consultation fee? Second Master Jing choked. 500 taels. Gu Jiao said, fixed price. Second Master Jing walked out of the alley and sat on the horse carriage. He was a little confused. Hiss, is there a mistake? I'm here to catch someone. How come I didn't catch him and even lost 500 taels? The coachman ran over and looked behind Second Master Jing, asking, Second Master, where's the person you want to catch personally? Second Master Jing kicked him on the butt. Of all times, he touched a sore spot. Speaking of which, why do I think of my brother-in-law when I see him? Are you going to burn some paper money for your brother-in-law? Gu Jiao didn't know that Second Master Jing's heart was complicated and confused. She took the 500 taels and entered the courtyard. Gu Shaoshun came back from grocery shopping. Master Nan and Master Lu were either poisoned or crippled, so she was in charge of making dinner. She planned to stew a pot of pork ribs and was chopping the bones when Master Meng entered the house. Gu Jiao glanced at him. You're awake. She spoke in Zhao Nation's language. Master Meng looked at her strangely. After a while, he opened his mouth and spoke in Zhao Nation's language. Girl, it's really you. When he first opened his eyes, he wasn't fully awake. He looked at Gu Jiao and saw that she looked like the girl he used to play chess with in Zhao Nation, but he wasn't very sure. After basking in the sun for a whole afternoon and sweating all over, the effect of the medicine had dissipated. Now he was really sure. And it's me. Gu Jiao nodded. The next day, after washing his face, Gu Jiao also recognized him. He was the old beggar who set up the chess game near the chess club. Gu Jiao went to find him after returning from the frontier fortress, thinking that he had passed away. Gu Jiao spoke to him in her own voice. Master Meng looked at Gu Jiao with a puzzled face. Why are you in Yen Kingdom? Studying? Gu Jiao asked. Why are you in Yen Kingdom? Begging? Master Meng said. Gu Jiao, Master Meng, they were all speechless. Master Nan and the others didn't know that Master Meng and Gu Jiao were old friends in Zhao Nation. They only thought that Master Meng was an ordinary old man in Chengdu. After dinner, Master Meng asked Gu Jiao to come to the front yard to play chess. 10 taels per game, Gu Jiao said. Master Meng was stunned. No, why is it still 10 taels per game? Gu Jiao hesitated. Then 20 taels per game? Maybe the beggars in Yen Kingdom earned more money? Old Mr. Meng choked. Was that what he meant? With their current friendship, did they still need to talk about money? Master Meng gritted his teeth. I owe you first. He lost his money bag that night and had no money on him. Gu Jiao said, I'm running a small business. I don't accept credit. Master Meng, are you running a small business? Are you running a business without any capital? Also, girl, do you know who I am? Do you know how many people want to play chess with me and I don't agree? Gu Jiao said again, if you don't have money, you can pay with other things. Do you have anything valuable on you? Why do you sound like you're robbing me? Master Meng had already changed his clothes. He was wearing Gu Xiaoshuan's old clothes, but Master Lu didn't throw his things away. He rummaged through a pile of washed clothes and found a brocade pouch. He took out a token from the brocade pouch. Gu Jiao said, here. Gu Jiao took it and looked at it. How much is an iron token worth? Master Meng said, this is not an ordinary iron token. It can be used as a talisman in the inner city. Don't you always sneak into the inner city? He had been unconscious at Gu Jiao's place for 2 days and heard some things. He knew that her brother was seriously ill and she had been looking for a doctor for him. Oh. Gu Jiao reluctantly accepted it. Then I'll play a game with you. Master Meng almost vomited blood. The token of the chess master of the 6 countries was only worth 1 game. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhpqg.com/89642_8964286/1078888259. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhpqg.com Biku Go mobile reading website. zhpqg.com. Chapter 642. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. After Second Master Jing returned from Gu Jiao's residence, the first thing he did was to ask Second Madam to prepare some paper money for him. He wanted to burn some paper money. Second Madam was confused. Who are you burning paper money for? Second Master Jing said, my brother-in-law. Second Madam choked. Who are you cursing? After a pause, she thought of something and said, no, you only have a younger brother-in-law. When did you have a brother-in-law? She was the eldest daughter in the family. She didn't have an older brother, only a younger brother. Second Master Jing straightened his back and said, my older brother's brother-in-law is my brother-in-law. Second Madam. Yes, Second Madam remembered. When Second Master was young, he was a hooligan. Who knows how many times he was chased and beaten by the eldest son of the Xian Yuan family. Later on, when he found out that Xian Yuan was his older brother's brother-in-law, in order to avoid being beaten, he followed suit and called him brother-in-law. In fact, there were so many sons of the Xian Yuan family. Although Xian Yuan beat Second Master the most, he also protected Second Master the most. Therefore, Second Master was both afraid and respectful of Xian Yuan. Why did you suddenly think of burning paper money for him? Second Madam asked. Second Master Jing frowned and asked, don't you think that boy from Zhao country His eyes look like your brother-in-law's? Second madam said strangely. You mean Mu Chingchen's classmate? That swindling quack? Second master Jing nodded. Wasn't he a swindler? Today, he cheated him of 500 taels. I don't think so. Second madam shook her head. How can a person from a lower country look like a son of the Xian Yuan family? It's not his looks, it's his eyes. That kind of murderous look. Second Master Jing tried his best to explain, but Second Madam was still confused. Obviously, she didn't understand what he meant. Second Master Jing waved his hand. Forget it. You haven't been beaten by your brother-in-law. You don't understand. Of course, Second Madam didn't understand. She was a woman and only saw Xian Yuan how a few times. How could she pay attention to his eyes? Second Madam glared at her husband. I think you're bewitched? Did that brat have some kind of sorcery? Or did you let that brat put the goo in it? She actually said that the brat's eyes looked like Xian Yuan Hao's? How was this possible? Xian Yuan Hao was Xian Yuan Li's most outstanding son. He was brought along by Xian Yuan Li at the age of 7. He entered and exited the barracks, and was familiar with the art of war. He followed his father into battle at the age of 12 and never lost a battle. That didn't seem right either. He had lost the last battle of his life and died after being pierced by 10,000 arrows. Second Madam's thoughts ran far away without her noticing. She was the one who said that she was possessed, but now she thought of Xian Yuan Li's death. Second Master Jing seriously considered Second Old Madam's words and felt that this possibility was not high. At that time, he was at the door and that brat was in the backyard. They were so far away. How could that brat put the goo in him? It doesn't matter. Go and get some paper money first. Second Madam gave him a sidelong glance. Okay, I'll go prepare in a while, but if you don't catch her back, how will you explain it to Divine Dr. Mu? Thinking about Mu Ru Xin, Second Master Jing had a headache. On the other side, Gu Jiao and old Mr. Meng sat at the stone table in the front yard and finished a game of chess. Old Mr. Meng began to explain the chess game. You see, if you didn't make this move, you might have won. Gu Jiao listened to the old man's recount of the chess game carefully. The old man had a good memory, and his chess skills were really good. In the past, he hid his skills in Zhao country. Old Mr. Meng pinched the black chess piece and put it down. Here, or here you can't live, so you made the right move. Gu Jiao said, you don't have to say it's right, just say it's wrong. Old Mr. Meng looked at Gu Jiao with appreciation. Her mentality was good. Thinking that this game of chess was exchanged with the token of the chess sage of the 6 countries, old Mr. Meng explained in detail, but it seemed that something was reversed. Do you remember what I said just now? Okay, then let's play another game. Let's see if you can really master it. No, Gu Jiao said. I said I'd only play 1 round. Old Mr. Meng. I, the chess sage of the 6 countries, teach you how to play chess, and you dislike it. I don't even have so much patience with my own apprentice. Don't you know how to cherish it? When I leave, you'll regret it. Gu Jiao thought of something and asked him, when are you leaving? Old Mr. Meng's old blood was stuck in his throat. He took a deep breath and said angrily, your little brother, Xiao He, blew me up like this, and he didn't even let me recover before driving me away. Gu Jiao, oh. Old Mr. Meng secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he was knowledgeable and stabilized himself in time. If he really left, how could he find this girl to play chess? Gu Jiao said, walk the horse every day, food and accommodation are provided. Old Mr. Meng. Gu Jiao took the token that old Mr. Meng won by playing chess and returned to her room. The old man said that it could be used as a talisman. She had the talisman that Xiao Hong gave her, and the 2 things were completely different. A special talisman. Gu Jiao murmured. If the token that the old man gave her could really be used as a talisman in the inner city, then it would be much safer than using Gu Jiao talisman. Gu Jiao decided to test it at the inner city gate after school tomorrow. The next day, Gu Jiao got up before dawn and went to the backyard to practice the red tasseled spear for a while. Gu Xiaoshun only woke up after she finished practicing. After breakfast, the siblings set off for Qianqiong Academy. Their clothes were made. Gu Xiaoshun went to the academy to get them back yesterday, so they changed into Qianqiong Academy's uniform today. Sister, you look so good in our uniform. Gu Xiaoshun walked in front and looked at Gu Jiao as he walked backward. Gu Jiao agreed. I also think I look good. As soon as she finished speaking, her eyes darkened. Xiaoshun. It was too late. Gu Xiaoshun had already bumped into them. He was walking backward. In the past, there were not many people on this road. Who would have thought that there would be more than 10 people blocking the alley? Brother Qin. It's this guy. A young man with a bruised nose and swollen face pointed at Gu Jiao and said. Gu Jiao recognized him. He was the Five Mountains Academy student that she had beaten into shrimp last time. She had heard Zhou Tong mention him later. This person was called Wu Feng, and he was from Sheng. He was considered a moderate troublemaker in Five Mountains Academy and had a group of brothers under him. Gu Jiao had never heard Zhou Tong mention this Brother Qin. However, it seemed that he was not a kind person. Brother Qin grabbed Gu Xiaoshun's collar and coldly curled his lips. He looked at Gu Jiao and said, You're the one who bullied my brother? Gu Jiao looked at him indifferently, without a trace of fear in her eyes. If you still want your hands, let go of him. Brother Qin laughed mockingly. He raised his hand and threw a punch at Gu Xiaoshun's stomach. He was a martial artist and used almost 70% of his strength. This punch was enough to rupture Gu Xiaoshun's spleen. It was just a fight. Even Gu Jiao had not been so ruthless when teaching Wu Feng and the others a lesson. Gu Jiao's eyes turned cold. Her fingertips moved, and a silver needle flew out and pierced his wrist. His arm went numb, and Gu Xiaoshun struggled free. Catch him. Brother Qin gritted his teeth and shouted. More than a dozen people in the alley rushed forward. Gu Jiao stepped forward and pulled Gu Xiaoshun behind her. She raised her leg and kicked the person who rushed at the front. He was sent flying and fell on 4 or 5 people. Gu Jiao directly stepped on them. Everyone felt like their ribs were broken. After stepping on them, Gu Jiao kicked Brother Qin, who had recovered, and sent him flying to the wall. He fell heavily on the ground. Gu Jiao walked over and stepped on his chest. He was about to get up, but she directly pressed him to the ground. Brother Qin did not expect this kid to be so fierce. He had brought more than a dozen people, but it was over before it even started. There were still 7 or 8 students from Wuyue Academy left. Seeing this, they did not dare to go forward. They were not new students. They were old students who had studied in the academy for many years. They had always been the ones bullying others. They had never been taught a lesson by a new student, not to mention a new student from Qianqiong Academy. Qianqiong Academy was a literary academy. It was full of bookworms. Gu Jiao looked at him condescendingly. Do you want your hand or your life? Brother Qin's face was red from being stepped on. He looked at Gu Jiao fiercely. Do you know who I am? My father is from the Nangong family. Ah. Crack. Gu Jiao broke his ribs. Say it again. Who is your father? My father is from the Nangong family. Ah. Gu Jiao broke another one of his ribs. Gu Jiao's eyes suddenly emitted a biting cold, murderous aura. She smiled evilly. Say it again. Who is your father? Brother Qin did not dare to say anything. He was scared silly by Gu Jiao. How could a young man who looked less than 17 years old be so terrifying? Gu Jiao looked at the silent crowd and said coldly, Don't you people from Wuyue Academy appear around Qianqiong Academy in the future. If I'm unhappy, I will beat you up like this. After she finished speaking, she stepped on Brother Qin again. Crack. 2 more of his ribs were broken. He fainted on the spot. Digression. The 3rd night watch is here. Is there a monthly ticket for me to sneak in? The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/1078855017. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Pavilion Mobile Reading Website. zhbqg.com that you're tuning in to the Echo Reads YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.